It's stage 2, week 1, and the second day of group play action for Europe, kicking things off today. We've got a fully loaded schedule on my whole shift, and I'm pumped to get into this one because we saw a lot of extreme action over the course of day number 1, both here on the mainstream as well as with the second one. A lot of results all the way through. Build us some very interesting standings. So we're in for a very fun day, and with me, I've got my partner, Austin Visions, Neil, ready to kick things off. And while I'll say this much here, guys, there's a lot that needs to be known about what we have in the mix. So Visions, good to see you. Looking great, looking fresh, looking flavorful at that. And well, like we mentioned, the standings are definitely interesting after the first day of action.
Absolutely they are. I mean, I think there was definitely a couple of surprises that we got. There was obviously a ton of changes that we got during the offseason. So a lot of different EU rosters coming in to see if they can maybe figure out the right formula to come out against these top teams that we have here. So I'm very excited to see what ends up coming in here for us right off the bat here for day number 2.
Let's take a look to see what exactly we have on the schedule because, yeah, there's a lot of interesting action happening over the course of this first 2 slots that you see for the European region. Starting things off, it's Vengeance versus the Originals. A huge matchup for both of these 2 teams. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And then, I would even argue, more importantly, Doe's Nation has to go up against the defending champions, the Minnesota Rocker Academy roster, in a match which is going to feel like a must-win for them. And then when we get there, it'll be North America, a couple of interesting matches there. So it's a full day worth of Challengers Elite. The group stage so far has been thrilling in both of the regions that we've had, and this opening matchup that we've got, Vengeance versus the Originals, this is a huge one because as you look at the standings, Vengeance, yeah, sure, they're currently sitting in second place, 2-0 with a 6-3 map count, but this Originals team, they were fighting yesterday. A 3-0 win and an 0-3 loss, both of which, though, saw 6 extremely close maps.
Yeah, very close maps, and this has been a common trend with the Originals, right? Where we even go back to what we saw in stage number 1, and there's times where, you know, these guys are absolutely destroying, like Sukari's Bakery 3-0 when we go to playoffs, but then all of a sudden, you know, they're also dropping out 3-0s. Even if they are close, they have to look at taking more maps. They have to look at actually securing the map counts when they're in these best of 5s to make sure things do not get out of hand here. But on the other hand, Vengeance, you know, they have had a great start. This is, you know, with Denza coming over here as well, we feel like that is one of the big talking points for the squad who had a 2-0 start. They're looking to keep that train rolling to try and, you know, lock down the top of the standings here going forward.
Let's take a look at this Vengeance team because this is a squad that was essentially a conglomeration of 3 teams from stage 1, all of which missed the playoffs, interestingly enough. So that's kind of been the interesting thing about this roster of Denza, Wardy, Maple, and Weeman. Like we mentioned, they're currently 2-0, 6-3 in the map count. But the biggest thing about this squad is this day today is the challenging day for them, at least as far as the schedule is concerned. You've got a tough matchup versus the Originals, and then a huge second match eventually that they're going to be playing off stream. The thing about it is really kind of not just what can Denza bring to the table, because we kind of already know here, Austin, but we were both kind of curious to see what would Maple have to do to get back to what we kind of saw from him in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, Maple's like such a good talking point because when we go back to Modern Warfare, when he was playing with Singularity, that was when he had his AR duo Insight there with them, Bids, you know, that entire roster. And, you know, they were putting in work. They were the team. It was that whole battle the entire year where they were going up against Team War. They came over to North America. They were doing a lot of damage here. But, you know, since that point, Alan, we haven't really got to see that same Maple. Throughout Cold War, we weren't really saying his name a lot. We weren't really watching over him. But now this is his chance, I feel like, to come together with a roster that is extremely strong. Like, you have a great front line, you have a great lockdown type of anchor player with Weeman. It's just a matter of what will Maple bring to the table. Can he stack up against these other ARs to play more aggressive inside the point, find these moments where he can take over because he has the teammates around him to be able to do it and win.
On the other side, the Originals, a team that snuck into the playoffs. It actually finished 3rd with a huge upset kind of Sukari's Bakery to get there. They did lose to Sukari's Bakery yesterday. Like we mentioned, a close 0-3 matchup. But Hawk is the new player in the mix, replacing Furious, who got kind of, we'll call it a promotion. And I think the biggest thing here is he's the player really to kind of keep an eye on because up until this point, he's only been finishing in the top 16, and most recently in Cup number 6, he had a top 32 finish. So I'm curious to see what Hawk is going to bring to this table, but maybe even on top of that, Niall was a very kind of staggering member to this Originals team last stage. One of the lowest KDs overall from stage 1, and he had the lowest overall Slayer rating. We need to see improvement from Niall here.
We really do. I mean, we never really knew what we were going to get out of Niall. There was times where he'd have a great performance. He'd be able to come out here, start off hot, but, could he keep that going for the entire map? Not always, or sometimes he would just start out flat, and then he was never able to catch fire throughout a map. Now, you can't really let that happen in a game like Vanguard, where it's so fast-paced. Once you get put in the blender, it feels like sometimes you can't get out of it, and you really need to find your form here, and we're looking at Niall to see if he can step up and be that pillar of success here with the rest of his teammates. With the loss of Furious, you're going to need it. But now we take a look at our series layout here for us. Alan, we got a Tuscan coming up first. We'll get our Desert Siege coming into second, Tuscan for the third map, then a Gavutu and a Berlin for map 4 and map number 5. But we're getting right into it right away, right into the Tuscan hardpoint to kick things off.
And the big expectation here is for this Vengeance team, you expect them to do well in respawn. They were great in hardpoint last stage between Revenge Tour and Money Form, so you expect them to do well. And big shout out says we're going to be kicking into this as spectated by Nathan and Dylan. Big shout out to these guys. Got a first time in the Challenger scene. Happy to have you. And as we get into the mix, it's going to be, well, a good start for Vengeance. From the unfavored side, mind you. First 3 kills come through quickly. Actually give it a full team wipe. And how about Denza? This is what you come to expect. He's going to take away space if you give it to him. And he's already put himself on a double kill, pushing forward in towards this backside archway.
Yeah, getting very aggressive right away. You can just see a little bit of the tempo coming in from this team where they can take away so much. And now locking down the first 20 seconds of the hard point might be good for the next 20, pending what we do get here. Wardy's looking for a play through mid. Will be shut down, but now you got a big one-on-one on top of the point here. Raffi looking for an angle in, does get a bit of assistance. So luckily enough, the Originals will be able to get the scrap time, but they have a long rotation ahead of themselves as they have to make their way across the map.
It's still, though, well done to come back in and make sure that Vengeance don't essentially win the war on 2 fronts while getting the unfavored spawns off the rip, finding a way to get the hard point time and winning rotation. At least you're able to salvage a little bit of time off the first, and you can still contest this pretty up close and personal. The problem is we have no one on the high ground here for the Originals, and Vengeance absolutely reaped the reward of being able to keep those high ground positions. And how about this, actually? Full man 4 hit when it comes to where the spawns are for the Originals. They spawn up at the top side of the back. Vengeance not necessarily prepared for this, but still they hold convincing locations around this hard point particularly, so the Originals a very difficult break on the way.
Yeah, they tried to get all the way through the back here, but the problem is they're not actually winning the battles, meaning that they can't really get to the hard point. This is just good zoning here from the back. Wardy, he is now 6 in 1, 3 in a row for him. He's been able to create a ton of space around this point, and Wardy will find another one. So 4 in a row to make sure that the scrap time is not going to go over for free completely. The remaining 10 seconds should be good, but how good have Vengeance been on the rotations here once again at P3 first, and they're going to have to worry about player 5 who's here on a pinch. Wardy gets the information and finds one.
The one thing that we really noticed a lot when we look at a player like Denza and when he was with Revenge Tour was the mindset that team took in hitting constant pinches. It's not just Denza that was doing it back in stage 1. It was the whole team that would find the ability to say, okay, I've got 2 players that are already locking on the back. Can I make a play? And we're starting to see that unfold here. The same mentality for this Vengeance squad. Again, a conglomeration of 3 different teams from stage 1, but all of which are very talented individuals. And the awareness and veteranship that they have, you expect them to play somewhat similar to what we're kind of framing up for Revenge Tour from the last stage. It's definitely working out nicely for them, although I'll say that the Originals have been really good on these kind of flood style breaks. So even though there's a pretty significant advantage for Vengeance so far, this third hard point has an opportunity for the Originals to cut back into this deficit.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, interesting. Most of this hardpoint has actually kind of gone to neutral time here. The first 10 seconds wasn't picked up right away for Vengeance despite having the rotation. And then, the remaining 45 has basically just been on and off here and will end up being another couple seconds going over. So you're going to have a slight lead here for Vengeance. They're, of course, at the church again. Every single time they've been at the New Hill first. Just a matter of, are they going to be able to win out on these gun battles? It's a push from the back right now for the Originals, trying to break inside of Church. Denza can't get the gun up in time. Raffi will find an easy pickup. Niall gets one from the side here as well, and now the resources, the numbers starting to be thinned out for the side of Vengeance. It's a beautiful break, but still looking for the time. Finally, Niall's here for 3 in a row with a nice start at 10 and 6. We'll see if he can keep it going.
Yeah, it really, through these 4 hard points we've had, there is a pretty big stylistic difference between both of these teams. The Originals now have really full man flooded around the back, then leading to a break when they're the team that's kind of on the outside looking into these hard points. Whereas for Vengeance, not only are they winning on rotation, they're really spreading the map really thinly. So you're getting pros and cons from both sides. For Vengeance, you're able to zone a lot of the map. You get good reads on where the Originals are coming from. But on the opposite side, Originals are overwhelming those fights because of the sheer number
Not sure if Alan cut out there for us, but either way, Vengeance now back in control. Will be able to break themselves in. And now 67 to 112. It's just a matter of holding on to this hard point as long as they can. But it will be 35 seconds left here. And so far, Vengeance, they've been able to set up the line, push out the front. Wardy's now starting to roam around the point a little bit here for us. So everything's coming together quite nicely. You feel like there's a lot of pressure on the Originals to try to get here. And how about that? Hockey, Rafi, Grad, all winning some key battles to at least allow Grad to come here, contest the remaining 15 seconds. But a big battle comes right back over for Wee Man. So the scrap time is secured. Vengeance, they are going to come out with a pretty significant lead after the very first rotation, meaning that we're going to have to see the Originals really bounce back coming into the second rotation now. But can they hold on here for us as Wee Man already finding a couple more in a row? That is not what you want to see right now. If you're the Originals, you got to break in, but the team shots just coming in beautifully right now for the side of Vengeance. It's even Denza's nade that has to take out Wee Man after being on a bit of a spree here, but this is your chance to try and recover, to try to break in. Can they do it here through the front? They will get a touch, but they're not ready for Maple to come from the side. So yet another trade coming back here, and a second for Maple will be cleaned up. 4 in the feed. Everything going the way of Vengeance, as they have just been on a different level here so far. 20 seconds to play for the Originals. They're going to have to look at a way to try to make this rotation, but first they want to try to contest some of the scrap time here. Very dangerous scenario here for them, as they'll have to win it on the battles, but they're not going their way. So now they're gonna have to travel across the map, trying to get themselves into a position where they can actually get into the second hill on the rotation, but it's not looking likely. And now it's a 100-point differential right now here for the Vengeance.
Oh, sorry about that. I was in the middle of making a really good point, by the way. We'll reframe that later if I get the chance to. But Vengeance, the kind of mentalities and stylistic differences that we're seeing are leading to these major advantages because of the pressure they're putting across the map. It's just they're winning every single rotation, it feels like right now. And for the Originals, it's kind of this step-by-step recovery process in which it's just taking a little bit too long. By the time that they actually get what they're going for, 30 seconds is already off the hard point. And they're not really convincingly holding that back 30, so we're seeing these small gaps and differences in this stylistic change between these two teams, really benefiting that of Vengeance. Nice little 5 spree here, though, for Niall, desperately trying to keep his team back into the mix, but not so fast. Vengeance right back into contested scrap time.
Yeah, they sure are. 15 seconds up for grabs. Wardy's here. A couple more kills for him, and that will be good. So this is finally one of the first hills that the Originals actually will be here first. But they're going to have to deal with Wee Man, who is already in a good position, and that's going to be quickly cleaned up there from Niall. So now things looking a little bit better here for them, as they might just see that 100-point mark. But Grad, important role to play here on the side, won't be able to find the kill, and now you can flood through in the back, but Niall, he is here to pick it up.
Yeah, this has to be a perfect hold right now, you have to feel like, for the Originals. And if you could find a way to get the better part of this opening 60 seconds and then rotate successfully to Church, you are dancing. You can get right back into the mix here of this map, but easier said than done without question. I mean, Niall really is doing whatever he possibly can to keep his team in at 22 and 17, but on the other side, it's just Vengeance's control around the hard points have been incredible. I mean, look at the objective scores at the moment. Everybody is over about 45 seconds, and you're finding participation in multi-kill form from a number of different members. This time in particular, it's Wardy for the third. Grad down the corner. He's just crouch walking right into a line of sight. So it's going to be 4 in a row, and that break for Vengeance puts extra pressure on the Originals, not just for the time, but also on this rotation.
And this is the beauty of having such a big lead after that first rotation, because now you just have winner's advantage where you can play for scrap time. You can take your time around the point and try to see if you can play for these routes to break in. But Niall has been doing everything he possibly can. Can't read the play onto Maple, who does clean up a couple of kills. Rafi now, the next one inside of the point, needs to win a big battle here and won't be able to win it. Will be a push that comes right back for Vengeance, and now they are 20 seconds away of putting this map 1 away here. You have to see a lot from the Originals if they're going to be able to hang on.
Well, they're able to get through and at least neutralize some of the time, and numbers will be able to come here from the backside of the Church Alley. They deal with the player trying to contest off the pinch. Again, Vengeance, you have to feel like are always going to be hitting these close pinches. So the kills are turning up pretty favorably, but there's still so much work to be done. And fortunately, you do get a clean kill feed here, which will allow you a chance to start sending some members on rotation. But the thing about this is, Vengeance can continue to put themselves closer to 250 by hitting for scrap time. Wardy doing just that. But Hawk has actually done a nice job kind of reading this, and really this 1v1 is negligible. It doesn't really make a difference what happens here. It's all about what happens on the rotation, and as Maple starts to work his way from the low ground, he's going to have a 1v1 inside the hill with Grad. Hawk, try to come over to help him. but the nades will actually push back Maple. Good recovery here for the Originals, kind of stringing themselves into contest this 5th hardpoint.
Yeah. Wardy's down low here as well, so they can make this double hit happen through the staircase to see if they can break open the point. For the remaining 16 seconds, Wardy with the jump shell there for one. Hockey now needs to find the cleanup, is able to at least grab himself a kill, but won't be able to hold his life and stay alive. And now Vengeance 10 seconds away from winning map number 1. You got one push left here if you're the Originals, and you're going to have to go. Stuns nades trying to come through, but Wee Man challenges it. They're just being cut down as they flood through. It's not going to happen. Vengeance will close things out here and grab the first map on Tuscan Hardpoint.
And that's the first major convincing win we've really seen from them so far in this kind of, well, I'll say it's the stage. I mean, outside of the Gavutu where they just kind of took over versus GWR Signs yesterday, this one was, you know, I was kind of talking through it. I'm not sure how much was heard, so apologies if I repeat myself here. It's just stylistically, what Vengeance were doing was just continuing to put pressure on what was going to feel like, if you're on the other side, every part of the map. You've got players that are hitting old. You got players that are hitting new. You got players that are trying to work on for new spawns, and then you got players that are kind of pinching you on rotation. It's just, it feels like every single moment of that map, you're coming out contested if you're the Originals. Where their stylistic idea was, we know what we need to do. We're going to play a logistically sound bit of hardpoint, where if we're breaking, we're going to full 4-man flood around the back, get spawns, then get the hill. And the pros and cons of each of those are pretty dynamic, because on one side for Vengeance, you're pressuring a lot, but the negative is if you lose one gunfight, the numbers for the Originals are going to flip and possibly overwhelm you, not just in the spawns, but also in the hard point. I think the biggest thing about it was that kind of group mentality from the Originals just wasn't finding quick enough success when they were trying to hit around the back of hard points on breaks.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I mean, we also kind of got what we asked for too, Alan, where we said, listen, we need Niall to be more involved. And he was a lot more involved here, wasn't he? He had actually a pretty decent stat line by the end of it. I mean, for one of the players that has one of the lower Slayer ratings here in the league, was doing quite a bit of work, but we weren't getting that out of Hockey. And we really did question, you know, how much is losing Furious going to hurt the squad? You have to imagine it's definitely going to hinder them a bit. But you definitely need, you know, Hockey to be putting up more than 1,800 damage, right, in these games, especially on a Tuscan hardpoint where there's so much fighting. There's so many individual battles that can influence spawns, that can influence the hardpoint, scrap time, you name it. So you need to get more involved here, especially against a team where, you know, we saw Vengeance right off the rip there, Alan. Like, they were just running at their opponents, ready to start firing on all cylinders. And that's kind of what we expect when we talk about these 4 members coming together here for this Vengeance squad, and definitely starting off here with a great start in the series as they kick the first map.
You know, we didn't really talk about this while we were planning, so I'm just going to kind of ask you a question and put us both kind of in the hot seat a little bit here.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or do you feel like Denza has now put together, and I don't know if it's just him, but he's at least found himself a better group of 4? Like, Revenge Tour is good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like when you look at the 1-for-1 on paper, like Watson, I would say, was like his number 2 on Revenge Tour. And now you got Wardy who's working with him. So, like, nothing against Keza and Mythics from that Revenge Tour squad, but it kind of feels like you're getting a little bit more solidification between this group of 4. I don't know if solidity is actually a word, but you've got, you know, kind of a 1-for-1 with Watson, where you've got Wee Man in the mix. I feel like you've got an improvement as your SMG duo with Wardy kind of now in the fold. And, you know, Keza and Mythics, I don't know, they were good last stage, but I feel like this group of 4 just feels a little bit more solid from start to finish, where Denza doesn't have to individually take over for them to win.
Yeah, I think that it is a really fair point, because when you look at the success that Revenge Tour found, a lot of it was off the back end of Denza just having really strong performances, and you really were relying on him, it felt like, at times, in order to see this team succeed as a whole, where I feel like there's also just a lot more experience now on this roster that he has, right? Because we were talking about Mythics being a little bit more of a rookie coming into the scene, not getting a lot of play time throughout last year, and you have to teach, you know, those new players, you know, how to properly play, or at least agree on how you're going to take the approach to the game in certain game modes, which you know, sometimes doesn't always necessarily work out in the way that you want it to. So I think that you get a little bit more experience here. You get Wardy, who I think has been a standout S&D player and has been, you know, one of the standouts so far, I think, in Vanguard period, for someone that was a little bit overlooked coming into the season, and alongside, you know, just more players that you've at least had experience with over the past years. So I think that this definitely works out for them, and maybe is a better squad overall. I mean, it's certainly showing so far, right? They had a great start in day number 1, and they're already kicking things off nicely in the hardpoint.
Maybe the best way to say it is this team feels more mature. Like, we use the word veteran all the time, but like the maturity to trust that I can make the right play. I have the individual reads to put myself in the right spot is maybe why that more kind of stretched hard point works as well as it does. We'll have to consider if we get to the Gavutu hard point, maybe that's something to kind of, change our narrative to. But let's get into this Desert Siege search because, well, there's at least one thing we know about Desert Siege. It's obviously a very segmented map where you're taking a lot of long-range fights on the outsides, and of course, that kind of dynamic play between high and low inside University can be a little bit chaotic depending on how you're using your nades to kind of clear that space, whether you use them at all. And I think when you look at this through the originals, last stage, in stage 1, 3 out of the 4 players, of course, coming back, their search and destroys were either really good or really bad. There really wasn't a lot of close matches. There was a couple of round 11s, round 10s, but largely we're looking at like 6-1s, 6-3s, or the other way around, 1-6s, 2-6s, things like that. So I'm curious, I think, just to see how the originals have matured, to use the word again, in their search and destroy specifically, because they held a close differential in stage 1, and like we mentioned in the 6 maps that they had played yesterday, every map was close, including both the search and destroys they played.
Yeah, very close here for us, and you need to close out maps. That's a big thing when we talk about at the top of the broadcast with the originals, right? They get 3 out or they 3-0. So this is going to be one of those pivotal maps, I feel like, that you need to find it so that you tie things up, because Vengeance has been so good when it comes down to closing out series. And I feel like this team as a whole, with the players that they have, is also really good at being able to go 2-0 up and say, all right, let's get it done here, right here in the control, considering they have been pretty solid in that as well. So I'm looking at this as a must-win, I think, for the originals overall. And I feel like a good map to do it on is Desert Siege. If you have like a really slow start in the map number 1, then I feel like you can slow things down on the Desert Siege, and you also can rely on one another very much so. When you talk about the fact that if your ARs and your snipers aren't performing, well, it makes things more difficult for your subs, and then vice versa. If your subs aren't winning the battles inside of University or opening up the sites here for you inside of those B corners and things like this, it can be really difficult to actually find any control, and you almost feel suffocated at times here. So I think that every single player is really going to have to work off one another here. It can't just be a one-man show performance. I mean, you really do need to rely on one another.
Absolutely. And how about it, just to take your point and extend it a bit further, Grad and Raffi have been essentially a set duo over the course of the last handful of years, it feels like now.
Yeah.
So how much do we really want to see out of those two in particular, I think, is kind of the other question we have to keep in mind, especially with the map, like we mentioned, where you're kind of trusting some individuals defensively to lock down sites, but also have the recognition of, is this hit coming this direction? And if so, how can I work with the player right next to me to try to make sure that this 2v question mark situation could be possibly held? And I think for Grad and Raffi, that's definitely what you're looking at here, especially from the side of Raffi, who really did honestly have a great stage 1, particularly also in the search and destroy. So you look at him and what he was able to do with a 1.13 KD as kind of maybe the focal point of that potential duo if they find themselves next to each other on the map.
And you hit on it. What are we going to get out of Grad and Raffi? I was watching them last night, Alan. They're playing some 2v2 high roller wagers, but can they translate that over into 4v4 play? As we got a scope off the bat here for both teams. Hockey is going to be the one using the sniper here for his squad. We'll see if he might be able to find a little bit of value here. Might have some long-range shots versus Maple, who is going to match the sniper play. Going to look for some shots, not going to be able to connect. But now you know that both teams have a sniper. We'll see if that makes any of the players here with the subs play any different, as you might be looking for some kind of a bomb plant here at B, or you could still wrap back over to A. You have Weeman who's been watching it.
Yeah, B is a very difficult approach just due to the fact that you kind of lost track of where Hockey is, and he's got a free angle to watch underneath archways to see if anyone actually gets over to the B side. So you feel like this has to move towards A. But like you were mentioning in the pre-match setup, you have no control over University, and that is the pivot focal point of this entire map from both sides of the bomb. So as Wardy gets into a 1v1 with Nile at long range, it's Nile who finds first blood, and the bomb is stuck. We're under 30 seconds, and they have gotten very little room, although a bold challenge as Weeman moves forward. He has actually cleared a little bit of space in front of B, but Hockey keeps it safe, and Denza has to desperately plant. Yeah,
this would be for the ace right now, and he's got a player in front of him with a scope. He's got players behind him. He knows the scope's in front of him, and he tries for it. Not much Denza could do in this situation. And the shot will land here for Hockey. Very nice defense setup here. Just playing very patient, not giving away their lives. And they will be able to close things out here in the first round.
It's just difficult, man. And that's the thing. As much as, there's been a lot of conversation about how, at the beginning of the year, we're like, GA snipers. And then in the middle of the year, it's like, wait a second, snipers aren't that good because one bullet hits your flinch all the way to the sky. And the thing about it is, if you're going to opt to go in a sniper v sniper battle, you really don't have the ability to back down one another. Like, it's kind of like a game of chicken in a way. Like, oh, I see the glint on the other side. Do I want that challenge, or am I going to back away? And you kind of saw for Maple that time around, he was like, I don't really want this. I'm just going to kind of keep jump peeking around these sandbags and see if I can maybe just scout out where exactly Hawk is going to be positioned. But we'll see this time. How about this? Vengeance, quick hit right through the middle of the map, take over the B site. They lose first blood, but they do drop the bomb carrier.
Oh, Wardy, though, does get caught pushing a little too far. So Raffi, for 2 in the round, is going to be able to create an advantage for the Originals. And Grad just made it that much easier. 1 versus 3 for Denza again, and he's not ready for that gunfight. So they try to run at them here, and the Originals say, okay, we're just posted up, we're waiting for you, and they grab an easy second round.
It's 2 good first bloods, by the way, from the side of the Originals, just to mind you. I mean, the first one, it's Wardy who falls at long-range denial. But this time, Raffi gets the first blood on Wee Man, who was a part of that 4-man hit through B. So even though there were some quick trades, the information for the Originals was absolutely exquisite. You know that they're hitting with multiple members. You kind of hit the brake, stop on a dime, get yourself in a position to deal with a potential push-through, which did occur for Vengeance. And as we saw, they dealt with the kills no problem. Kaleidoscoping into our 3rd round we go. And a little bit more patience starting to kind of ring out across both sides, but Denza has actually kind of snuck on in.
Oh.
Good 1v1 win for Wardy inside, but the problem is they do lose the bomb carrier. It kind of feels like a 1-for-1 the other way direction now.
Oh, it was a disgusting snap there inside the point. So 2v2, you really need this round right now if you're Vengeance. You got Wardy and Wee Man alive to try to get the job done, but pushing through the back, it's going to be Wardy. He will be caught again. Just great reads coming through here as Raffi's just ready for it. And that's also going to be 5 in a row now for Raffi. So he is working for some streaks. And you're going to have to try to retrieve this bomb if you're Wee Man. The stun is going to lock him down here, making it that much more difficult. But he does get the bomb and exits out with his life.
The thing about this is Originals are just happy to play retake at the moment. 30 seconds on the clock. You've got Hawk, who's still deep over towards the outside Sands Tower. And then Raffi, who's playing an elevated position just outside University. But the timing! Oh, goodness. Raffi still nearly reads it. Not sure if he got a late call-out from Hawk or not, but regardless, Wee Man's able to turn this into a 1v1. Plant coming through. Hawk is going to allow him to plant and then try to challenge off the exit with the pistol. And he gets up top. Dead Silence is ready. Gets around the backside. How well is that played by Hawkey? 4 in a row for him as he clutches up the 1v1.
I love that play. Just no fear whatsoever, right? Just immediately rushing the site, making sure you get the information on whether or not he exits through mid. You know exactly where he's going. He finds him up close as he takes the high ground there, and that is a massive 1v1. And, I mean, this is actually honestly just come down to, one, the first bloods that we were seeing at the beginning, the first couple of rounds, but this round just comes down to a nice 2v2 play, reading the back push coming in here. Wardy getting a little aggressive, trying to make that play. They read it correctly. They make sure he's not getting behind enemy lines here. And this has now set them up beautifully as it's 3-0 here for the Originals. And Hawkey is also deathless, 4-0. I think he's going to keep the sniper out. Why wouldn't you?
I love this call as well. This is the first time we'll see him take the sniper rifle over towards A. You know you've got Maple in kind of a weird position because he has found 0 value with the scope. And it looks like he's actually got an automaton playing just outside the A trains. No, actually, he is sniping. So excuse me there. But this is a very difficult angle to find a pick. He does read information that there was a cross not just towards the site of A, but also away from it. And that will actually kind of trigger Vengeance to be a little bit more stacked up in the mid-map where they have to figure a rotation should come somewhere around, or if not possibly in University.
Oh, there's the big kill from Denza. Does get a lot of information, and that could slow things down considerably here on the attack. But what are you going to try to do here with 40 seconds left? You got Nile in a position where he is going to have to make a move to the bomb, so someone almost has to take his place to watch over him. And on top of that, you got Wardy, who's fishing for some information. This is very aggressive from Wardy again, and Grad is going to punish him for the jump peaks. You got Wee Man in a spot where he does just snap onto the head of Grad. We'll be able to even us up, and now 20 seconds left. You're going to have to make a move, and it looks like a last-second rotation over to A.
This is the right call, especially if you saw the glint of Maple playing backside trains in the first place. You know that it's a 1v2 where a scope is not going to be able to double you up. Plus, it's going to be very difficult for him to even hit the shot in the first place as you cross. So, good read here. Niles able to get the plant, and he's going to hold on the site. Hawk is just responsible for watching his flank or the jump down from top University. The problem is he just has the scope, and almost gets the jump peek onto Wee Man, but not able to connect. So now Maple from the front, looking to essentially what Hawk had done before with the pistol, but gets cut down as Nile repositions. This is a brilliant move from Nile. He knows that he's got Wee Man all the way on the backside of A, so he's got some time to play with. And with a 1v1 and time ticking away, Wee Man is on the wrong side of the bomb. The challenge still comes through, though, and Nile takes the 1v2, clutch up the Originals, flawless still on the search.
Oh, I feel like Niall is playing so well today. I mean, I'm just loving just the split second decisions where instead of, wrapping all the way around University, coming back out through mid, where I feel like a lot of players would typically fall in line with that type of play, he just simply backs up, goes to his side, burns a little bit of time off the clock, and then comes and checks the bomb and then just smokes Wee Man off the top of the heady. So just really clean search and destroy all around the board. Sure, you got no streaks, but who needs streaks when you're taking every single round here? Now 4-0 for the originals, and it feels like Vengeance just have tried to, use some of this aggression at the start of these early rounds, but they have not been able to find the kills, and now Grad is also searching for a first blood through A.
I love this a lot from the originals. You show pressure by Rafi getting up to the B site. It forces a lot of utility out of the pockets of Vengeance, and Grad uses as a chance maybe to sneak forward and catch somebody out mid-map tossing nades. It doesn't really work out perfectly, but Niall still collects first blood. That's outside of the dunes by where Wee Man is positioned. Denza gets the plant off, but Rafi there to immediately deny anything further, and we've got ourselves a 4v2. The original's looking solid, and now it's just down to Wardy for a 1v4. Bomb already being defused.
Yeah, it's being diffused, and it's going to get diffused here. And the kill even comes through for Grad in the end. Such clean search and destroy. I mean, it is really difficult to get a B-bomb plant off when there's still all four members alive, because you almost can guarantee yourself there's going to be someone watching from the back wall, whether that's with an automaton, whether that's with a sniper rifle, and there's always going to be some kind of a submachine gun player typically playing close on the bomb, whether that's the B-bomb corner right behind the bomb, even behind all of those pillars tucked away in that dark corner. There's so many spots that you have to watch out for, and unless you find a first blood, it's almost impossible to get that B-bomb down without exiting here with your life. So we'll see what Vengeance can really do right now. Maple yet to get a kill, can't match the sniper play. Wardy has just been shut down with a lot of aggression, and you just need one more round to put this one away.
3-man defensive stack over the A site. Peculiar from Vengeance, if not maybe even desperate at that. But they're quickly going to rotate back. Looks like Maple has put away the scope for this round. And yeah, I think desperately needed, with not finding any values. I don't even know if he's taking any shots outside those jump peaks we saw from round 1. So patience starts to echo across as the originals will take their time. And with that, Vengeance are happy with their position mid-map.
You can see the differential, right? Like already, last couple of rounds, the originals were already looking for information, getting a little aggressive, but finally a first blood is going to go their way. So that will actually make things a tad bit more difficult. Now even more so, Maple, who switches off to the automaton, will get his very first kill on the board. No sniper shots coming through here for Hockey, and that means that Grad is left all alone. Sure, he's got the bomb, but don't think he's going to be coming out with this round here. Might just be looking for a little jump off the map here. He's going to go see how the Desert Sun's treating him, and that will be the first round on the board here for Vengeance.
Here's the thing. This is why I'm surprised Vengeance hadn't made this swap up before, is you've got Denza and Wardy who continue to double stack defensively inside University, and they want to push through that once they read where this bomb is leaning towards, not even committing towards. A lot of the challenges we've seen from Wardy and Denza have been them just saying, okay, I got information that they're leaning towards the backside of B. I'm going to push out and try to catch a timing. The problem is, they're not really in positions to help one another out on trades, and they've got no AR help over the top because you've got one AR watching down low and the other watching so far up top. So now you've got more of a kind of aggressive stack from Vengeance, and it works out nicely for them in those initial engagements. Happy with that adjustment. Let's see what they can do from the attacking side. Wardy, good first blood, but Hawk, unbelievable shot. Denza commits to the plant and does get away. Big news for him.
Yeah, 3v3. Very doable round here for Vengeance to slowly but surely make a comeback happen. But Denza, under fire, under pressure, takes the challenge head on and gets out with one he shouldn't have. And that is going to put Hockey now in a 1v2. He's got the scope, looking for some heads here. Wee Man going to stun him up, though, and that should do it. Nade comes through. Vengeance now starting to work with their numbers, starting to find some of these first bloods, getting out with the exits as well as they'll put their second round up on the board.
It's the same mentality, by the way, from that last defensive round echoed here on the attack. You got a little bit of pressure through the middle of the map. You start to get a little bit more aggressive towards B, but you hold players in positions to where they can trade out one another. So the first blood comes through, it's immediately responded to. The second engagement comes out, and Vengeance are just in better position. So I'm really curious. Keep an eye on number 1 and number 4. Where are they going to go off of this defense? Because so far, it's mostly been straight on into University. That will not happen this time. It's a 3-man stack right on top of the A site, and Denza, because of this, has to play a little bit more passive, but that aggressive stack at the top side of the map has found an angle to take down Niall for first blood, who also happens to be the bomb carrier.
Yeah, that's the bomb down here, and Maple's watching right over it. 4 in a row for Maple after being 0-5. Talk about a turnaround. and a chance to keep it going. Someone's going to have to go and retrieve it. It almost feels like they know the bomb could potentially be down, as Nile is typically the carrier here. So Maple's going to hold that. They're going to hold a long, big gunfight, though, for Grad. Does create some space inside of University, and that's going to make you backtrack a little bit right now if you're Vengeance to make sure Grad's not coming from behind.
He needs help in this backside. Yeah, there's just still so many members here. I don't think the Originals fully recognize that there were 3 members stacked up, because Wardy, who finds first blood by way of Automaton, you might be thinking, oh, he's just the sole defender then, because he's been running a sub inside the entire way through. But he had a lot of help. Weeman and Maple watching over the top of them are able to get involved, and now all of a sudden Maple goes from 0-5 to 4-5. Opportunity for Streaks to make this full sale happen. Rafi on the back. Timing. Well, it may allow him a trade here, but Weeman's done his job by finding Hawk, and with not a lot of time on the clock, this will be another round going the way of Vengeance.
It sure will. 3 in a row here, Alan. Starting to make an argument for the word we don't throw out too often, but a full sale maybe in the cards. And you can definitely see a little bit of a gameplay change here that's been coming in for Vengeance. They've been playing beautifully the last couple of rounds here, using their numbers. They're not getting blooded nearly as much. Wardy's holding on to his life. Also, winning out on those individual battles there. We saw it through A-Long in the last round. But now you have streaks to work towards here. Maple, who's gotten 4 in a row, 2 off of earning some streaks. You have 3 in a row for Wee Man. This is very doable, especially if you're able to earn yourself something like a glide bomb. And Maple now feeling confident enough to bring up the scope here again. He's got a player close left who's Grad's just inching up here bit by bit. Maple, see if he's ready for him.
Oh, Grad's mother's not going to be happy about the laundry she's going to have to do. Just snoking that. Oh, boy, yep. Just snaking his way forward. Gets the shirt a bit dirty, but still finds first blood. And it's an aggressive peak for Maple. But again, look at the setup. There's nobody there to even watch over his platform in the first place, let alone find the trade. So I think just setup-wise, it's just a bit too vulnerable. Denza will pick up his fallen comrade's scope to bring a little bit more diversity to the mix. And as Warrior's able to trade things back, we got ourselves a 3v3.
Yeah, they should know for sure they're coming over to this A site. So many shots have been fired. Grad's going to be able to find Wee Man. And now it's Denza and Wardy that do need to clutch up here. Inside, big fight for Denza. Able to find one. He's got a teammate right with him. And now it's a matter of what site are we looking to work towards? What site are we trying to drop the bomb at? Denza gets info, tries to repeat with the sniper rifle, but it's Wardy who finds the kill into Hockey. And they know Rafi's mid. The gunfight there for Rafi comes through. A 1v1 up against Wardy right through the door. What a shot! The Originals, they will close things out. 1v2 in the end is good enough to close it out 6-3.
Bro, this pistol whip is nasty. I mean, Wardy just comes Kool-Aid Manning through the door. Rafi's got 4 HP, and somehow the shots just don't connect. Rafi gets the turn pistol whip. I thought for sure we were going to see another round. I was ready to go. I was ready to write it down. All right, here we go. Full sale on the mix. We got 2 more rounds to see, and nope. Wow, that is an unbelievable pistol whip coming through, and let's just say it how it is. I mean, the Originals, so good in the opening engagements. Whether it's first blood and out for free, or just being able to out-trade Vengeance, even if they did find themselves being blooded.
Sure.
So efficient in the first bloods. And I think a lot of it is just, again, I've said it a lot, so I apologize for kind of being a broken record here, but Vengeance just were not playing in great tradable positions in those opening gunfights. Obviously, the easy reference point is Maple of that sniping pick over the top, where Grad just weasels his way forward, gets the kill, gets out for free. How is nobody watching over the top of him to make sure no one pushes his A plat? Or B plat rather. It's kind of puzzling in a way, because this is a team that, yeah, they get aggressive, but largely they do it together. And it wasn't very successful for Vengeance in the opening rounds, and it seemed to be kind of play on their mind throughout the entirety of that search.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And just, my goodness, this 1v2 right here from Rafi, that's like one where your teammates are like, thank God, right? You start losing all these rounds in a row, you start thinking full sail in the back of your mind, and that's just got to be a sign of relief here. Rafi, one of the big S&D stars in the European scene, says no more rounds here as he finishes off 8-5. Grad there 9-6. And hey, listen, we said those are the 2 that needed to really lead the charge here for the Originals going forward. As you know, they've been spending a lot of time making sure they get work done in Search and Destroy. It shows here beautifully in the Desert Siege, where they can get aggressive, they can use the scope, and you have to give some credit over to Hockey, who did start off really hot there at 4-0. Did maybe kind of come down a little bit near the end, but definitely had a lot of influence with the sniper rifle, and Maple was unable to match that for the very first half of the match. So very clean here, and I think this is more important now in the fact that they get themselves a map going into the control to tie us up, and we know how those controls can go here for Vengeance, so it's a really good sign here for them.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you know, it's not just the fact that Vengeance is a great control team. They're a great Gavutu control team. We had not seen them play a lot of Tuscan. Even when Revenge Tour and TMT were around the mix, which is the most majority of what this team is, a lot of it came through Gavutu control. So,
sure.
Since we've got Tuscan on the slate for us, I don't know. I think that this actually kind of builds a bit of an advantage now for Originals all of a sudden, who really could use a win here. I mean, they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, going down 1-2 overall in the match count this early on. But this is a matchup that could potentially lead to, are you 4th or are you 5th by the end of it? Just based on kind of the eye test that we've had so far through what has been 2.5 matches. So a huge swing map coming up for the scheme of not just this series, but also potentially getting to the top 4, which is what's coveted. And we've also guaranteed the Gavutu hardpoint. So we could also kind of foreshadow a little bit, kind of referencing back to the Tuscan hardpoint. What were those stylistic things in the hardpoint going to mean potentially for that Gavutu map 4?
Yeah, that will be the big one, I think, coming in for sure. The AR presence as well will be a good look at, you know, will the Originals still be able to step up to the plate with losing Furious, who was one of the solid ARs that he would flex and pull it out for maps like Gavutu. So I think that'll be an interesting look. But I think I'm most concerned about coming into the Tuscan control. I know it's a different game mode, but we got to see Vengeance come out here, and they just started frying right from the start. They were ahead of the rotations. They were doing a good job at taking away a lot of the map and, you know, figuring out exactly, okay, where are the spawns? Where are they located? And they did an excellent job at pinpointing them and stopping them from getting to a lot of the hills first. So coming into this control, I feel like you have to now look at someone other than Nile, funny enough, because our entire conversation point was we needed Nile to step up, is, you know, will there be other subs as active as the submachine gun players on Vengeance? Because coming into that first map, you could just see a massive differential, especially as we got through the very first set. You know, there was a whole 100-point difference that ended up coming through in that very first map here. So you need more submachine gun players to get involved, to match the slaying pressure, to make sure that Vengeance aren't essentially just walking all over you, especially on your attacking rounds where you need to be the aggressor. You need to be the one getting up into your opponent's faces, winning it on those battles, taking away space, taking routes, fighting for the back here. There's so many steps to control, and you need to make sure you're hitting all of that, all of those ticks here to see if you have a shot at being able to go up 2-1.
It's just, man, you look at those stylistic changes like we were mentioning. I don't know, man. Like I need to see. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, I'm thinking too much about the Gavutu hardpoint for map 4. Let's say, just, you know, throw this out there rhetorically. Answer it if you so choose to be bold out there, YouTube chat. If the Originals continue to find success by flooding, does that maybe give them a small advantage on the attack? Because they've got the ability to kind of get an early stack towards a key point like B? Like, that's something maybe to kind of keep an eye on here, because if Vengeance continues to spread the map, trying to kind of win, you know, who knows, like a TDM style defense, if they get caught off guard all of a sudden with a 4-man hit and the Originals find good kills, like that might be all you need to win an offensive round. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking a little bit too one-dimensionally about this.
I feel like, you know, overall, that could very well be a possibility. I think, you know, whenever you start to see teams get scared and start to wait a little too long and they're starting to hold their pre-aim, like that's when I start to get nervous for teams in control, because you don't realize, you know, in the moment just how fast time is ticking away. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we got a minute left, right? We're gonna have to make a hit happen. And you almost feel like you have to start forcing things instead of, you know, letting it almost come to you naturally, where you're saying, this is the game plan. This is what we're taking control of. First, let's get, you know, into church. Then we'll have a couple players battle for the back while one goes the radio, and we take, you know, multiple parts of the map away at the same time. You need that coordination in a game mode like Control, especially against teams on defense where, you know, let's be honest, there's less variables. You don't have to worry about as much. The only thing you have to really worry about when you're on defense is just keeping them off of the zone and having some kind of a setup around the point here. So we'll see what happens, as it looks like we're already well into the very first round. A has been locked in, which means that there is still 2 minutes of time left to try to work with. It will be the Originals, of course, attacking first, and we'll see what they can do in the back here as Rafi is alive.
And Hawk is having a great start, 6-3. So you want to talk about extra SMG presence. How about the 3-sub logistical meta setup here, with Hawk starting off with a hot opening in round A. But that said, lives even, Minute 40 in the clock is not a terribly large amount of time. And Niall's going to make a solo play. Goodness, this is bold from Niall. He's going to get around the back, too. Wardy's got absolutely no idea. He watched Wee Man spawn up and then said, I'm going to keep helping you, thinking that the flood on the back was imminent, but it's not there at all. Niall survives with 1 HP. Nobody can get a trade on him. He's going to get the regen and nearly gets away. The problem was the originals were a little bit gate kept coming out of spawn, and we get ourselves 20 extra seconds off the clock and a tie game in the lives.
Yeah, 15 playing up against 14 here as trades are going back and forth for us, but still lots of time to work with. However, this one is going to be all from the front on the push here. So you're going to have to take some big battles, open up with a couple of multi-kills potentially, as Denza is going to be watching the top, but down low, that's a team nade there. Not what you like to see. Rafi takes out his duo. Grad has now been taken out of this push here, which is going to slow everything down here for the next 10 seconds, waiting for everyone to come back off spawn. But now their next hit, they're going to have to make this one count as so much time just went by.
The thing about this is I love this from the originals. You have all the high ground you could possibly want, save patio. Grad has just single-handedly cleared out church. So now you can hit this from multiple sides, but Wee Man lines up two coming down the church alley, and then even responds to the third up top. An unbelievable defensive effort from Wee Man, and Rafi still remains the only surviving player of that hit. Still an opportunity to hit this, but look at Denza. He wants to take away the high ground, and this puts a lot of pressure on the originals to re-clear space and still have to desperately touch with only 20 seconds on the clock.
You'll have a lot of tacticals and lethals that will at least try to get yourself in, and that will be a nice shot coming from Rafi. Takes out Maple. Niall does deal with Denza, but you can't get off of the zone. You have to stay on it the entire time. 10 seconds left on this clock. You're not going to win through lives, so it's going to have to be through ticks of progress, as they will be able to stop this clock here for another moment. Grad in the back, trying to win this battle here versus Maple, but he's not going to give him the challenge. The stun locks him down, and now you have everyone just scattering, but Grad still keeping the play alive. Can't get to the zone in time. A good attempt, but not good enough to stop the clock and get back on the zone.
Oh my goodness, I thought for a second Grad just absolutely made the play. It was a sloppy first gunfight on the Maple, but then the turn and burn gave them a chance. I don't know who it was, but there was somebody who was on the B zone and tried to zone off the church alley. I want to say it was Niall number 3. I don't want to make that 100% of a call because I'm not 100% confident, but there was a player who was doing the exact same thing that Grad was doing forward through the defensive spawn. They were making that play through church, and unfortunately I think a stray nade came through and took the final player off the zone. Like you mentioned, there just wasn't a lot of time off the clock. But nearly do the originals scrap together an offensive round. This time for Vengeance. They are going to spread the map here with just one player initially holding on to progress at A. Denza, who's still responsible for mid-map, will stack it for what will likely be an easy second tick of progress. And the originals, they're going to have to concede this point completely.
Yeah, it's going to be a minute 20, so they'll have 2:20 here to work with. So nice job here. Nice kills from Denza. He's already threatening pressure into the back here. So this is really going to lock up a bit of the defense as everyone sits inside a church. We'll be able to find a couple trades again. Grad, though, finds that battle onto Wardy, and that is going to give us now a lot of time to work with. A zone is captured over 2 minutes. It's all about trying to get over to B. You do have a good spread across the map here, so you're going to have to deal with quite a few players as Rafi is going to put himself on a couple in a row playing through the rooftops.
This is a heads-up play from Rafi. You know that players that just got your kill on the Nile over towards Fire Alley are going to be looking for you, so you change up the angle. And he's done well. I mean, Vengeance are, yeah, they're in P5, but that's it. And Rafi's still in the back. Of course, Vengeance are going to know this, so they kind of have to be very cautious about how they approach, at least initially, but they do catch Rafi trying to extend through well, and now an opportunity with numbers to retake the high ground. They get through patio. Nile, who has survived this initial defensive hold, will at least put a little bit of pressure on Vengeance, maybe keeping them a little bit uncomfortable around the B point, and that seems to largely be the case. Still playing for kills, and the lives are starting to become significant as Vengeance find themselves up 3 with pressure on the B zone.
This is good. Denza, he was just in the back, and he's not going to sit back on the wall heady, but he is still getting help from Wee Man here. And they're going to be able to deal with more and more players trying to flood through. They also find Grad on the pinch, so this is actually a little bit terrifying here if you're the originals. You're going to have to deal with everyone who's just going to stack the point. 2 players now on the zone. Second tick of progress will be secured. It's one last push from the back. Rafi and Grad finding kills, but it's a 1v1. Hockey's able to take down Maple, and that third tick of progress well on its way, but will not fully be secured.
This is a good confident push through from Hockey as well. You have to zone space, down 6 lives. The clock is your biggest ally here. Minute 10. If you can hold this play off a little while longer, you'll be sitting in a much more comfortable position. But as Rafi gets naded from the backside of patio, now it's just Grad who has to come to help reinforce to make sure this third tick of progress doesn't just get stacked up and taken freely. And as Rafi falls off the respawn, now you do have a couple of players that could touch this for vengeance, but big kills off the spawn lead to just Maple being the last one left alive. There's really not much he could do besides try to control some high ground while his teammates are coming off spawn.
Oh, only 4 lives remaining here. Maple will be able to find a second with the pistol. And now you're just dropping numbers, losing everyone around you. Even if you get him off the tick of progress, you only have 1 life remaining, and Aki will end up dropping. So Vengeance coming out here with the vengeance after the last S&D 2-0 start. Very clean offensive round, and they're going to be able to allow the patience to pay off here to put themselves on map point.
It really just comes down, we are seeing, by the way, the same stylistic things in the hardpoint are starting to show itself here in the control. A lot of spreads for Vengeance, even on that offense. A couple of players trying to sneak around the back. You've got some players hitting through Church, some hitting from the front through P5. You've got a really interesting dynamic being built here by Vengeance. And the thing about this is they're winning a lot of individual gunfights. When we get eventually to the game stats, I definitely want to make sure that you guys at home that are watching immediately take a look at the non-traded kills, because I think that's going to be a big tell of what's exactly happening overall. As it looks like we've had a couple of issues with the initial observer, so we'll take a look on with just Wardy for now. 29 playing up against the 26, and for the side of the Originals, a little bit of pressure started to amount as they were able to get at least over towards the A zone.
Yeah, it looks like Nile just found 3 in a row there, so that should be good enough to probably lock in the A zone, it would appear, unless Maple can try to get in, but he's more or less trying to zone people from getting an early approach over to the B site, as the minute, I think, will be added to the clock. So we'll have to deal with them for about 2 minutes as we switch back. Looks like our Codcaster is good here for now, as we'll take a look. It's going to be about Nile pushing all the way through and maybe even working for some streaks. He's on 4 in a row, and we know streaks are so important on Tuscan.
He needs to get these. I mean, you see Grad looking for information to say, do we push back? I don't know if he meant to hit that, off the little bank shot off the top of the church abbey here, but that works out nicely because it does tag up Weeman, but they didn't expect him to be tucked in that back corner. An interesting interaction there. And Nile actually streaking forward. Maple's holding the Godheading on this back barrier. That will deny the threat of streaks, even though Hawk is able to get in the backside and also put some pressure here. Now, the thing about this is, for the Originals, you have to know that Vengeance are spawning top north side of the map. You have to keep somebody up top by P5 or in radio to make sure these reinforcements are challenged, and Nile's going to be trusted. Gets the stun off. Good help coming through from Grad. Trades coming out, but it's Vengeance defensively who are able to put a little bit of pressure, leaving just Nile, the last one left alive.
Yeah, Nile, he has to back up. He realizes no one's with him. I got to buy time for my teammates, and if he can find 1, maybe even 2 kills, this could still reignite the push. Nile's able to find the first one there. That's all you could really ask for. Will be a quick trade, but Wardy comes up with 2. Maple gets the 3rd. Vengeance, they have shut down the push, and now you have less than a minute to try to make a big offensive play happen. And Maple, he is just sprinting at his opponents. You have lost control of P5, and you have so much to clear before you even get close to this B zone.
Yeah, not good news here for the Originals. Something miraculous would have to unfold. And once again, it's going to be a large stack from the bottom side of the map. Nile's trying to make sure nobody flanks or pinches as he's holding mid-map. And you can see he's just doing circles on the map. He doesn't know where anybody is. And as Denza is able to isolate a couple of members in the front, he gets to read that, yep, Rafi's the last one up top. Easily traded by Maple off spawn. Tag down low. 20 seconds on the clock. The Originals are finding some success through Church Alley here. And nobody from Vengeance is really coming back to retake this area. So defensively, you're going to retake largely from the front. And the numbers aren't really looking all that great. First tick of progress is in, and the stack for the Originals very well could happen, forcing out a team kill. That's going to be all 4 dead. Last one to find off the light respawn is Weeman, and he will put himself right into the line of fire. Opportunity as the Originals take the second tick.
Hold up. This is looking possible. They're going to have to come through Church Alley and play defense, but a big win here from Rafi is going to keep the play alive. 8 lives playing up against 6, but it's coming down to the tick of progress, and Rafi is on a rampage. The Originals, they'll stay alive, clutch up the round with about 20 seconds left, and they'll see another defensive side.
Wow, that really is an unbelievable play. And just going back to it when we were framing things up before this map, these are things that could happen with the Originals because they're opting to stack up a little bit more on how they're breaking into these zones. And so once they get in and they read where Vengeance are spawning from, the crossfires and the guns being up from power positions have led to a convincing exchange in where you're not just finding kills, you've got multiple members that after kills come through that can stack and get extra progress on the point. So good stuff from the Originals, but now we need to start to see a convincing defense be put together, because defensively, they were really kind of in tatters for a lot of their setups around B. You can't let that happen again.
Wardy with 4 HP coming in with that battle versus Raffi. Not easy to take Raffi down right now with the way he's been playing, but apparently Wardy's saying the same as he finds a couple of kills, looks for the third. Niall, though, cleans up 2. Raffi also able to find the third. But while all this happens, you still got 1 player on the zone. That's going to be Maple, who's able to find 2 as they play retake here right through A long and mid map. But Wee Man also able to find Hockey, meaning that that last tick should be locked in unless Niall can get here in the nick of time. Is able to find a kill on it, but there's still 1 more player. So you still get the full minute of play, but you got Niall who's cutting off all the resources, and now you have all the map control.
So the reason that I kind of make that exclamation from Niall is not only do you get a player off the point, but you actually force Vengeance to have to hit through P5 with that elimination, knowing that you've got mid-map control. So the defenders around the B zone know exactly what to expect, and this is kind of what you anticipate. 3 straight kills coming through as they have Vengeance a bit split across the map. And an opportunity for Niall to continue on this spree. Killing spree of 5 in a row. Coming out the mid gates. He missed the timing by about half a second on the Wee Man, who's strucken over towards the well, but he could still potentially play off a bit of a pinch. Not needed yet, though. Originals defensively in good positions, and you could see Vengeance. They're very aware that they know Niall is not a part of this front defense. He's got to be in our back somewhere.
Yeah, they're certainly searching for him. And they're not going to go isolated through mid. I think this is the right call. We'll see Maple group up with his teammates, but they have burned quite a bit. They had over 2 minutes to play with, and they haven't really gotten to the zone once, have they? But Niall on 5 in a row. Here comes the flank. Maple's there with the read. 3 players are going to drop simultaneously here for the Originals, and now they're starting to feel the pressure, but Maple has to hold his ground up top as he waits for his teammates to come off spawn.
The Wee Man wants to push forward. He's going to get a little bit of help from Maple here, but the kills are not convincing enough. The last pistol fight sees Wee Man fall, but now Denza quickly around the back, able to at least put a little bit of pressure on the Originals off their spawn. 48 seconds on the clock. Denza is essentially responsible for making a solo play, and goodness, has he just opened up the backside of the B side. Now it's down to Vengeance from the top. Can they get through Raffi? Trying to recover to the patio area, not going to be able to find an elimination. So now pressure from all sides for Vengeance. Kills also coming through. It's another team wipe into the mix. Nades off the rip, off the respawn here for Originals. Looking solid, but they're down on lives. And they have to be efficient because Denza's on your flank and he only takes down 1. Almost an opportunity for all 4.
Yeah, but he knows where every single player is right now, so you just have to watch the back. 1 player coming off spawn, which is going to be Grad, tries to hit a different flank here. Trying to look for Denza. Shots are going to go very wide. But while this happens, you still got players around the zone here for Vengeance. Grab with a big win inside of Church. That is going to be so pivotal as the nades, the stuns, all about to go flying to retake around the zone. And that's going to force Maple off, but he is still finding kills. And now Grad, the last one left alive. Him versus the world, not going to happen. Lives too low. Denza getting 2 in the back there, really paying off as Vengeance will keep the win streak going here in control.
Oh, you nailed the call there, partner. It's not just the fact that Denza is able to collect a couple of kills, but as you mentioned, they get so much information. All 4 players are on the back staircase. Okay, cool. I've got all my nades off spawn still, says the rest of Vengeance, and heave-ho. Get those things back there, and they hold them back just long enough to keep some extra pressure from that patio side. Raffi, that was a huge 1v1. If he would have won that backside patio stairs, maybe there was a chance, even with limited numbers, to continue to kill off more of the clock. But not fully the case, and a swing map that I think both of us were looking at saying, the Originals, you kind of need to win this if you want to have a hope for the entire series. That falls away from them, and it really isn't for any reason outside of the fact that Vengeance, continuing to play the stylistical spread of the map, is continuing to find value off the individuals, turning 1 kill into 2, into 3, into 4 a lot of different times.
Yeah, very well done overall. You're thinking maybe there's a shot for the Originals right in that round number 3 when kind of pull the habit out of the out of the hat rather, and are able to kind of get at least to that round number 4, but not enough there in the end. And I mean, I kind of have to keep hitting on it just because we were so critical of Niall throughout the first stage. Like, he has been playing really well today. It just feels like not everyone is playing at that same level, at least at the moment, and they're not at least turning it into objective progress all of the time. But he has definitely been one of the standouts. I feel like it's just a matter of, are they going to have enough in the tank to really close out a respawn versus this Vengeance team that has such a great understanding. And you feel like there's times where they're like slowing it down, and you're like, okay, are they playing too slow here, or is there too much time, being shaved off of the clock clock, and then all of a sudden they just make that big team hit happen. They win out of those battles, they get on the zone, they start getting mixy, and you start losing all of your control around the point. So, I mean, it's been very well played here so far, really coming out here, and a chance to be able to get the job done going into what is going to be a Gavutu hardpoint, which we're certainly looking at as what are the ARs going to look like coming in here, and do the originals have enough of that power to really match up against the likes of Vengeance?
The interesting thing is not necessarily, at least for me, the ARs versus the SMGs, but I continue to go back to the stylistical differences between these squads. I know everyone out there's like, Shift, stop talking about the style differences, but trust me when I tell you that it's going to be over-exemplified, the differences between these two teams on this upcoming map. And the thing is, we still saw it here on the Tuscan at a couple of different times. Like, even right now, take a tally of the mini-map. Look where the blue arrows are. On the offense, they're able to put so much pressure on the originals because they want to try to flood in from one direction, but they don't expect exactly where Vengeance is going to be coming from because they're all over the map. And then when they're on the attack themselves, they're able to keep pressure on multitudes of facets of the map itself. And that's what I'm looking at. Non-traded kills. Look at the difference between Vengeance and the originals. On the bottom side, that math checks out. Vengeance is doing a better job at non-traded kills than the originals. Maybe marginally so. Maybe the difference about 10 to 12. But those 10 to 12 kills, that's the difference between an offensive win and an offensive loss, especially with how I think Control has largely been played at this arena and Challengers, where it does sometimes turn into an elongated TDM in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And you have to be like aware of that in the moment while you're playing to kind of realize, okay, can we actually win this round playing through kills? Or, you know, for the defensive team and we're giving up a lot of lives, all of a sudden you have to stop hitting pinches. You have to stop hitting these flanks, which, you know, makes you play really one-dimensional, where you have to start playing retake from your side of the map and you're doing it with each other. And if you're not winning out on those trades, all of a sudden Control becomes very difficult and you feel really pressured to start running at the point to get them off of the zone. So it makes you play quite a bit differently at times here. But either way, very clean. I feel like Vengeance showing us they can do it on offense, they can do it on defense, and they find themselves the big victory to put themselves in a spot where they can get the job done going into another hard point. And we go back to the first hard point, and I think the biggest takeaway that I had, at least for Vengeance, was how often they were at the first hill first. You want to play for the scrap time, that's fine. You get 15 seconds, we'll take the first 25 and 30 at the new hill. And they did a good job of zoning, keeping the attacking team at that point in time, getting back in there to retake around the point. And in a map like Gavutu, if you're at the first hill first, Alan, then you are getting the majority of the time. It is so hard to break those setups.
And this is, again, I promise you I'll only mention this one more time.
Just once? I'm writing that down.
Don't you dare hold into that. I'm being dramatic for the sake of drama. For the originals, that flood mentality that we saw on Tuscan can be very dangerous on a map like Gavutu, because there's not a lot of space around the back of the hills. You think of 4, you think of 5. There's not a lot of routes that you can take to get around, clear the spawns, and then get to the hard point. And if you're continuing to flood and flood and flood on your break attempts, we know Vengeance, not only will they spread the map, I've said that 18 times, but they're going to find a way to read that and know if they have the ability to send one player on rotation. And that one player on rotation against a full flood can instantly lead to a flip. Because let's just say, go with me here, okay? Close our eyes, let's visualize this. You've got the originals trying to break P3. All 4 members come out of AA gun and break through the hard point. But one player from Vengeance getting around can flip the spawns in an instance, and depending on the time left on that hill, all of a sudden you're thinking, hey, we broke the 3rd hard points, great. Oh, we gotta go do it again on P4. So like, those things can get really dangerous, and you can feel like you're almost in a blender in a way if you're getting out-rotated like you mentioned, and I continue to mention.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like what the fundamentals of the map are, right? If you're gonna get rotated, you're probably not winning the map. You have to contest it. You have to be there. And if you're at least, you know, conceding one of the hills, you have to make sure to get that back going into the one right after. It's a very control type of hard point where you are just going to have to hold on to your setups. And if teams are breaking you, you're probably going to lose. And we got to see how often rotations were working out so beautifully on a map like Tuscan. That happens here for Vengeance. Well, they very well might be able to put this one away, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The originals down by 1, have to take this map to get us to a map 5. Vengeance, a chance to close it out as we start the engagements off here at P1.
I'm really curious, I think, just to see who's going to be running what. Obviously, for P1, you're going to expect to see more SMGs in the mix than when we start to rotate away from it due to the nature of how the hardpoint works. Nice little play forward here from Nile. Love this. He's able to take down 2 and then pushes on into a bit of safety. Weeman's right behind him. I think the teammates have called this out. That should be a free kill, but Maple able to keep his teammates safe for now. Doesn't make too much difference, though, in the scheme of what's happening on the hill itself because the numbers are still good for the Originals, but the next break attempt puts a bit more pressure on it, and Maple has the last word, getting the pistol up for the break.
Wow, very scrappy here off the bat here, but Vengeance, I think, do some good recovery to make sure that it isn't, 30, 40 seconds going over to the Originals. We'll just limit them at 25, but it is a fight for the new point here at P2. We'll see Wardy win out on a battle. We'll reposition. I like this. Probably going to take the ladder up top, but Rafi's waiting for him. We'll find the read onto 2 in a row. That is going to give his teammates enough space to move in here and touch first.
And I feel like for the Originals, now that you're going to have 3 ARs in the mix, you have to be patient after you find 1 kill to not necessarily change your line of sight, because Vengeance, as we know, they're going to take a couple of individual routes here or there. So you have to expect the unexpected in a way, which is obviously a very easy thing to say and a hard thing to deal with. But if you can just find that 1 extra kill for the Originals, it will keep this Vengeance team in limited numbers all the time. That said, halfway through the second hard point, Vengeance has done well to keep this relatively on their favor. A couple of shots from the backside will put a little bit of extra numbers pressure as Hockey's the last one left alive on a 3 spree. He jumps into the hill and will help grow this Originals marginal lead for now.
Yeah, it's a highly contested P2 where it's like neither team is really coming out with a ton of time off of it. A lot of it going to the game clock here for us. One more read. The Grad with a beautiful read onto 1. Won't be there for the second, but that's fine because, again, those last couple seconds, they just end up going to the game clock. But here first, it will be Weeman. This is what we touched on. Vengeance really good at making sure they're at the right place at the right time. They will have themselves set up around the point, and now you're going to have to try to break this here from the front, and they're very close. The Originals, they have a shot to be able to win and out on these battles and try to get themselves some of this time around P3. They'll deal with Maple. Clean shots from Grad and Rafi is going to allow them to get the touch and move in.
Jeez. That is, look, if you're somebody out there that feels really confident in your individual ability, go back and rewatch that last 30 seconds from Wardy's POV. He's got 3 members on the zone. Wardy decides to get away from the hard point, play off the pinch, finds 1 kill outside green, and then makes the rotation safe by recutting the pinch. Now, that said, it's good individual play, but the rest of his teammates are faltering just a touch here. 4 and 10 for Denza, 3 and 7 for Weeman. Those have largely been the 2 players looking to assist in and around the hard point, and that's good contested time for the Originals from the front in the scrap. It's 1 player who stays away from this rotation, while the other 3 are able to cement the opening time here at 4. Great moment for the Originals, even though there was a brilliant individual play from Morty.
I like the setup right now. Very tight. Spawn secured in the back. Kills come through for Nile. Oh, he takes a really aggressive challenge, and that will be punished accordingly. But now it's all up to Grad to try to find some big battles. Not going to happen. Weeman for 3 in a row. Cleans out the hard point. And that is almost too easy here for Vengeance on the very first push through the front of the point. Gets themselves inside to be able to lock in some real time. And now we'll see exactly if the Originals can get back here to contest a bit of it, as Wardy is going to be on 6 in a row, almost there for the second streak, but the glide will be denied.
Yeah, this is a very important decision-making moment for the Originals because a team that loves to stick together, they cannot afford, with only 25 seconds previously on the clock, to full 4-man flood into old time. And they never really give it a true go, even with 2 members. You had Grad trying to work around the back after he successfully won a gunfight, but he never even comes close to really touching the zone. So an important amount of time for Vengeance on what is technically a break of that 4th hill. So now it's down to the Originals trying to counter back against that with a full hold here at Docks. But Vengeance, who have already gotten kind of through the ship, have an opportunity to try to hit this from multiple angles. Weeman the first one to cut across. Nile trying to keep the top side safe. Good team shots coming through. And with that final kill, it's a 4-man feed. Originals, a good team wipe here.
Oh, very clean. Oh, they're in the back here, but Nile's going to read it. He finds another snap there for 4 in a row. 30 seconds left on this point. This has been very clean and concise here for the Originals. Grad is already positioning himself for a future rotation, which means that you might have actually given over 20 seconds here for the side of Vengeance. They can retake control. Grad is still putting in some work, though, with a couple of kills. So we'll see if Nile decides to hit this and move in for the remaining scrap time. But meanwhile, it will be the Originals all shifting over, set up around the AA gun, ready for any angle on the approach.
We almost went from perfection in that 5th hardpoint to the Originals immediately into not ideal. A lot of it is just due to the fact that the Originals get that convincing kill feed and they start to push too far forward unintentionally flipping the spawns around where, yeah, of course, there was a pretty solid read initially, but the numbers just eventually overwhelmed. And now Vengeance, who do break through that 3-man setup from the originals here on the AA gun, have now turned this into almost a blowing the lid off of this game, because if Vengeance find a way to dominate this hill and win the rotations as they have largely done in the past, this game could get out of hand quickly. Originals needing to find a break, get one nade in. Grad, the first one to challenge, actually misses the slide in the inner side of the circle, and that gives enough time for Vengeance to start responding back.
And you take a look at the overall kills coming back and forth here, and like, oh, hold on, oh, that Denso with some nice movement makes a nice flashy play happen for the scrap time. But you take a look at what's happening right now. Vengeance, they're being heavily outslayed right now for the side of the originals, but they have more time. They're going to have about a 50-second lead over top of the originals that aren't turning kills into crucial time, and that's going to have to turn around starting at this hill or the next, because we're starting to get closer and closer to that 250 mark here. Vengeance have done an excellent job of always keeping themselves in the driver's seat, keeping the control, but Grad, 4 in a row, trying to cut off some of the players moving here off the back spawn, will buy his teammates enough time to get the first 15 seconds. Now we'll see if they can defend the push.
Yeah, good stuff there from Nile. Clears a bit of space over through green, and then immediately responds to the wingman who was trying to contest. He was actually the last contestant on that hit from Vengeance, who now have all of a sudden spawned out. Nile, great read here. Turns to find himself another elimination. Denza, who snuck around the back, though, puts extra pressure on the Originals, trying to restructure their defense of the zone. And with that, now, again, a decision has to be made for the Originals. You don't necessarily want to give away this 20 seconds, but you also have to be mindful of the rotation. Wardy has just completely cracked open the shell of that potential final hit. It's going to be straight 3 in a row, a triple kill for him, and the Originals have to turn tail and run to 3.
Oh, look at what this does, because now everyone has to bunker up in the back for the Originals, and they're struggling to even get to the hard point that's about to populate here, and Denza actually gets here first despite not having the spawns in the back, and Wee Man is still on a tear. Wardy looking for 5, finds it. 6 about to be lined up here for him, but it's the double team that ends up taking him down, but it's at the cost of a team kill here onto Raffi. And now it's still Vengeance battling from the front, pinning the Originals at the back of their spawn.
This is not good news for the Originals. It has turned from bad to worse in the blink of an eye. And you have to get this final 30, and you have to win rotation. Who's going to be the player to make that call? At the moment, it's Nile. He's already through the bottom side of the ship, but does not expect the quick contest. Wardy keeping it honest and safe means that, again, these ARs that you're seeing out of Originals are going to have to win up close and personal gunfights, not just as they try to hold the scrap time, which, by the way, that's not a guarantee, and they have to turn that into pressure on rotation. It really is starting to get a little bit cloudy out here in Gavutu. Hawk is in a position to at least open up a bit of space through the jungle pathway, but he has really limited amounts of help. It's just Raffi and Grad that are with him, and there's already power positions being held for Vengeance as they open up the radar tower in their favor.
And you have to brute force your way through the front right now. It's not looking like there's going to be an option to the back unless player 3, Nile, can make a solo play happen. But Hockey does find 2 that kind of just run at him, and that does give them the spawn flip. So a bit of a misplay here for the side of Vengeance will be punished very well, as you're now pushing all the way out. Raffi's not going to win that battle, but he gets the information, and you have a setup inside of the point. It's okay that you're dying outside here because you have player 1, Raffi, coming on a pinch while there's still 2 players alive in the back and inside the point.
Well structured for Originals, who technically are spawning out. They're keeping the front safe on the jump ledge. They know they've got a bit of a spawn trap in the mix. 2v2 for the zone. 15 seconds to play for. You've already got the Originals starting to rotate back to 5 thanks to their further out spawns. This is very doable, Austin. I'm sneaking forward on my chair a little bit because we're going to have a hot ending. P5 should open in favor of the Originals, as Vengeance isn't even in the same zip code as the Docks at the moment.
Oh, Nile not going to get a read onto the second player, so a lot of what's about to happen right now for Vengeance is going to fall on the shoulders of Wee Man. What can he do? What can he find? Has to play patient here for the time being, but that stun is going to lock him out, and he will die from behind. Grad does his due diligence, comes back around, and Raffi finds one up close, but you still have Wardy, who's been able to slip through the back here, might be able to influence the spawns, and now it falls on him to see if he can do the exact same thing his teammate couldn't.
Oh, Wardy, how big is that? I mean, the spawns were technically blocked. He wasn't able to get a full flip, but with those 2 kills, the influence will change. Still with that, though, only 25 seconds left on this hill. And even though the Originals have missed an opportunity, Vengeance may only be able to capitalize at about 20 seconds, which again extends the life of the Originals in this map 4. But now they have to do what they've been a kind of a miss on. These first two hardpoints have largely been ruined by Vengeance just flying in with subs. You've got to find a convincing kill feed. It's not coming through. Denza with 2. The number is quick to rotate over, leaves Nile by himself. But goodness, hold on a second. Nile, great information here. He's been able to buy time for reinforcements. And he's able to get the pistol whip onto Maple. All of a sudden, the Originals convincing with numbers in the first hill.
Nile has just saved the rotation for the Originals, and now they are set up with 3 members strong. Nile is just finding heads and ripping them off the map. But Denza, patient play with the trigger discipline. He comes from behind. The pinch is good for 2. The pinch is there for 3. Denza will respond with a play of his own, and now Vengeance a chance to close it all out on P1.
Oh boy, that is just Denza being Denza, man. You start to see a little bit of hopium here for the Originals. You've done enough. You've gotten yourself a miracle play out of Nile. And then Denza says, did you forget who I am? Good trigger discipline coming through. Nile looking to repeat his second life with more magic. But this Harry Houdini story sees him drowning on Gavutu. And that will be 250 on the board. Vengeance. The SMG is just a problem from start to finish. Denza there at the end, but Wardy before him, opening up the spawns from P5, negating what looked to be a safe rotation from the Originals. And yep, this is indeed the best play. Nice job here, Vanguard, because Denza just doing Denza things, man.
Yeah, he matches Nile's 3-piece and says, let me do one better. This one's going to close out the game. And it did. It closed out the game without a doubt. I mean, it was back-to-back 3-pieces, but in the end, when you're closer to that 250 mark, you don't have to play for the rotation. You know, you can simply sit there, bunker up, play the kills, and we know how difficult it is to retake the AA gun from the low ground. You're just hoping that someone's going to over-challenge into your pre-aim, but if not, you're kind of almost caught on sprint rushing in there at times. But incredible stuff there. I will say, has to be, you know, a pretty typical comeback. It was looking pretty dire, it feels like, for the most part, but it was at least a good turnaround for the Originals, finally actually turning their kills into hill time. You feel like if they maybe did that through the first set of rotations, they might have actually had a strong opportunity, a chance at being able to send it the distance and get us to a map number 5, but Vengeance doing a much better time of soaking up the actual hardpoint time coming in, and that, of course, is going to give us the result of the 250 to 214, despite getting outslayed just a tad bit here, but did equalize, I think, a little bit more near the end.
I'm going to do something very jarring here and completely zoom out and go back to what we talked about at the beginning of this matchup. Would Hockey fill in appropriately to what Furious brought to this team last stage? There were moments where Hockey looked great, looked fine. Search and Strike played well. Control, not bad. But both hard points, he levels out mostly his KD. I think it was like -5 in the first one. It's actually -5 here again, but look at the damage.
That's it, right?
Again. So it's like you're missing out on potentially 5 more kills between the difference of the next lowest, which is Grad at 2879. So you're 500 damage lower, which I know I feel like I'm stretching a little bit, but that's 2 straight hard points where the damage
it's a trend.
has really not significantly been there on what you would assume would be the initial fights, right? Like he's cleaning up finishing kills. He's not really getting those initial AR wins that you're kind of expecting, or SMG wins here and there as he was pulling out the MP40.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's got to be such a shell shock, I think, to the Originals when you had Furious, who was just doing this sometimes without help, right? Like, he was the one that was opening up with these massive plays that would, you know, lead to some significant time, or would give you at least a lot of control around the point to be able to push out, you know, play for these kills. I feel like Furious brought so much to the team, and we both knew that, you know, it really ultimately, you know, was a bit of a downgrade. Hockey has not had the best start to Vanguard. He's had a lot of top 16s. This is the first time he's been brought into some kind of a top 8 circuit where he was obviously picked up here, and he has a lot to prove, and we'll have to see if he can maybe bring, you know, some of his potential into that next series, because it is very much required as the Originals now drop to 1-2, and we'll have to really have a big bounce back going into their second matchup.
Well, with that finishes off our first set of matches here on the day. A couple of updates as far as what's happening around the league. Ultra Academy found a 3-0 versus Doge Nation. It was a tight one, though. 250-221 and the 6-5 in the search. Eventually finished with a 3-1. And then it looks like GWR Signs. They're up 2-0 at the moment versus Revenge Tour. So that's a big implication for potential standings. But for us, we've got Doge Nation and Rocker Academy, I believe, coming up next for us. So we'll take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back with our second slated match here for Europe. Day 2 underway. Don't go too far.
I'm too exhausted, I needed the energy, needed to pick me up. I'm in your movie, but this is my cinema. I got the power, I'm built to devour anyone coming against me, I tower. I don't cave under pressure, some of y'all leaving here in the stretcher. Took my time to go and get better, I was reading in the red letters. Ay, hit me with your best shot, I got time today. Feeling like a matador with that Red Bull, no, you can't stop me, I'm running my own play. For the game win, I came to pin anything that gets in my way. Been here, done that, you all know what we came for. Been here, done that, you all know what we came for. Energy, 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 I need that energy, 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 I need that. Been here, done that, you all know what we came for. Been here, done that, you all know what we came for. Energy, 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 I need that energy, 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 I need that energy, energy. Been here, we done that, we done that. You all know what we came for. You all know what we came for. We been here, we done that, we done that. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy. I'm in the game like EA. Been in my prime since pre-K. Shooting my shot from long range, going over here's a good toupee. Treat every day like payday. Y'all been living so mundane. My work week is Sunday to oh wait, that's every day. Putting in overtime, punching the clock, I'ma get what's mine. While everyone's sleeping, I'm living my dreams. I got a coin that's so divine. Lord, take the wheel like 10 and 2. I'm losing energy, I'm overdue. I've been on the top ropes, hitting my pose. Watch me hit the power moves. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, 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 energy. I need that. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Been here, done that. You all know what we came for. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, 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 energy. I need that energy, energy. Been here, we done that, we done that. You all know what we came for. You all know what we came for. We been here, we done that, we done that. Energy, energy, energy. I need that energy, energy. tune back into the music. You know how to do this. Don't second guess, it's not a test, it's not a race. No black or white, everything's great. No yesterday, never tomorrow, only the present, that is your gift. It benefits you only if open, everyone's chosen. Beauty of choice, you can stay silent, forget your voice. You can malign them, hold a grudge, or stand before judge, just stay in your case. Top of the notion that you were just a mere drop in the ocean. This is your moment, fear is a Trojan horse. When you open or close your doors. Just when you feel like it's too much, just when you feel like you've had enough, take a step back from the edge and take a deep breath. Dance like you'll never. Dance like you'll never. Sometimes you don't like where you live. Sometimes you don't really like your kids. Sometimes you grow out of your friends. Sometimes it's your fault, just admit it. Finger point in the mirror, 3-point back, that's the tearjerker. You can wallow in sorrows, depressed of the past, afraid of the unknown tomorrow. Or you can just live in the now. We all trying to figure it out. The rhythm inside of your chest that's keeping you moving, that's the solution. The ball on the floor is hard to ignore. Endorphin rush will flush your brains while you dance your pain away. Just when you feel like it's too much, just when you feel like you've had enough.
Hey there, you. It's us. We're back. Hopefully you didn't go too far, because we've got one more match here in the European time slot, and it should be an interesting one, at least for maybe one side more than the other. We'll kind of talk about that here in a moment. But Vengeance, we came off of a really interesting first series. The Originals not quite able to break the code, which was Vengeance constant pressure. And I only bring that up because I kind of have a feeling something similar will start to show itself here in the second. We've got Doge Nation going up against Rocker Academy. And when you look at the standings, you're going to see them on polar opposite sides of the spectrum. Rocker Academy at the top, looking solid, 3-0, 9-3 in the map count. And then all the way down to the bottom, Doge Nation struggling to put stuff together.
Yeah, all the way down at the bottom here, Doge Nation. I mean, we've seen them kind of put up a bit of a fight throughout yesterday, where they did play some maps, a little bit close. They had a shot at being able to maybe take a series, but they were unable to really get that done. And then unfortunately today, it only gets much harder as you're 0-3, and you got to go up against Rocker Academy, the Stage 1 champions. That was, of course, picked up by a CDL organization, and they have had quite a bit of praise from the community, and rightly so, right? They have been the #1 hardpoint team. They've been very consistent when it comes down to certain map mode combinations. And I mean, you just talking about these guys as a whole, they have all of this chemistry over the years. Metals and Lucky, they've been playing together for such a long time. And then, of course, playing out through the entire last year, having that incredible start. This is a hard team to beat. That's basically what I'm getting towards here. So it's going to be very hard for Doge Nation, I think, to get the job done. But we'll see what they can do.
I will say this much, this is completely off the radar, off the reservation, if you will. I do love that we go from United Nations to Doge Nation. You kind of wonder where the next nation will be for these
Where are we
guys,
going next?
This is
yeah.
this is 3/4 of that United Nations squad, and
right.
the sour part of that news is the fact that this is a team that finished 7th last stage. Really, outside of a couple of matches, there really wasn't too much that was closely contested, unfortunately, for these guys.
Right.
So you look at this as a David and Goliath, but this is like David before he's found his slingshot. Like, it's just Goliath, it kind of feels like at a certain point. And, on the other front of it, yes, this is going to be like a major underdog, possible upset. But for this Doge Nation squad, I will say that bringing BB Connor in, I think, kind of makes this team a bit better than what United Nations was last stage around, because BB Connor has been the story focal point of a number of different upsets. You go back to BO4 champs, he was part of that Fuego team, I'm pretty sure, that was able to kind of upset Gen G and all of them, and he's showed that he could be a part of a major squad at different times. It just comes down to the other three who are sticking together after United Nations. Are the improvements going to be there? Because they were not good. They're currently 8th, as we saw. But on top of that, their search and destroy from last stage was not a bright spot, and it really hasn't looked any better here in this stage yet.
No, it has not. And I mean, I think you bring up a good point where BB Connor coming in for Jerd, who didn't really have the best stage 1, right? Had one of the lower KD ratios that we do have in the league. Yeah. And I think Jerd does default to more of this objective role play. But there was definitely a lack of slaying, a lack of kills that were coming in here for this team, where, you're looking at maybe Connor to be one of those players that could come in, change that around you for you. But I mean, if you're going to have any shots or any shot period of being able to make it to playoffs, like, it really would start with a win here versus one of the best. It's hard to make an argument for it when we haven't really seen any consistency come through. And the big problem here as well is, you haven't seen really a lot of favor in the S&Ds, which means that you're probably going to have to look at taking one of these hard points, which is, even more difficult to do against the #1 hard point team that is so relentless and is just so good at not giving you anything to play off of. Very few mistakes, right? You can just almost always trust in all 4 of these guys on Rocker Academy to make the right play. So a lot going on for us, but at least Abusa is one of the standouts. And then we do take a look, of course, here at the almighty Rocker Academy. Journey, Lucky, Metals, and Real. Real as well, I think, has been one of the standouts that we've talked a lot about so far here in the season.
For sure. He's looking like he's CDL bound. As far as the next potential European CDL player, look no further than Real. I think collectively those that are both playing in Challengers and those avid fans that are out there have been nonstop impressed by what he's put together. That all said, though, as much as we love to see a new underdog story, or a new kind of up-and-comer story, I should say, rather, Lucky was unbelievable in stage 1. We kind of, as a broadcast talent, unanimously put Lucky as our MVP, and that was in the face of Real doing incredible stuff. 1.26 overall KD, 157 KD in the Search and Destroy. Nobody else was even close to that tally. So Lucky's really getting the job done, and that final point there, we know that this team's going to be good in respawn.
Yeah.
But Lucky's influence helps them in that search massively. And that was the only real vulnerability for them. Against Revenge Tour in the winners and grand finals, they lost both the searches. So you have to continue to at least build out the playbook of what your Search and Destroy looks like, not just by individual maps that you prefer, but more importantly, into different maps we have yet to see you play.
Well, I guess the good news looking at the series layout, there's only one Berlin in there, right? Only one. We know we wanted to try to avoid Berlin as much as possible, but I feel like, still this is going to be a really tough map #2, but at least I feel like a Bocage, anything can happen with a Bocage, right? Like, you have no idea what could end up coming in right away. You both just came off of a series. Maybe you can bring some of that energy right into Bocage Hardpoint, because we are kicking it off here, ladies and gentlemen. Doge Nation looking for their first win up against Rocker Academy, who are looking to stay flawless. Going to be a tough one for Doge, but we'll see what they are capable of doing against the #1 team.
Look at that happy dog up there, that little logo. That's just,
I like
look at
that
little pupper. Love that.
Puts a smile on my face.
It really does. I'm not kidding you. Like, I looked up and saw it, I just instantly just started beaming. I love to see it. Good stuff from Doge Nation. And a good start, too, mind you. 4 kills coming through, only losing just the single, and they've got a lot of pressure stirring them on. This is actually interesting enough. This is a 2 AR setup. This is very significantly kind of representative of what Atlanta FaZe has been putting together.
Yes.
With BB Connor watching one side, Whalers watching the other. So, hey, how about this little adjustment?
I really like that start there from Connor, because he watches over that entire mid lane, and that stops a lot of the subs from actually creating an early rotation or from even getting to the P1 time. So a great start for 20 seconds here or so, but Lucky and Metals are going to start to answer back a little bit as the new hill is going to pop here for P2. Connor keeping the sprees going for himself. Henry as well looking for the third. Won't be able to find it, but this will slow down Rocker, and they're going to have to try to now break this from the front of the hard point.
Good Nate's at least putting some pressure down, but I'm telling you, I was surprised after Atlanta pulled this strategy out of the 2 AR setup that we didn't see more teams trying to replicate it in Challengers. And I think there is some difficulty to it. It's a lot of trust. Not just the ARs are going to be able to win their initial gunfights, but more so that the SMGs can handle their own potential 2v4 moments. As you start to see, Rocker will break down the barn, and with that also the hard point. Spawn still narrowly close here for Doge Nation as they try to re-break on in, but with 20 seconds, you got to be mindful of how many resources you're going to commit to trying to get this scrap time. And well, Real has actually just made the decision for them. A double inside barn will eliminate any chance for a late break, and with that, Rocker Academy will retake the lead.
I like this play here from Real, but he's not ready for the gunfight up against Abusa. A chance to fight for the high ground. Not going to happen because Abusa is just starting to laser players that challenge him here from the window, but no one is on the time as of just yet, so kills do come through, but this ultimately nullifies a lot of the kills that just came in, because Rocker now are right back at the front of the hard point, at the back of the hard point. They just got to win the battles, but easier said than done. Connor dips out of the hard point here for himself as well, allows his subs to clean up the kills, pushes into the back, has a great read on the spawns. Connor starting to find all of the kills right now against Rocker, who are trapped at the back.
This is perfect from Doge Nation. They've got him not just trapped, they've got him suffocated. The read from Doge Nation is literally perfect. As soon as the first member from Rocker spawned up, you already had BB Connor in a position to try to contest this. So you want to talk about a way to find significant time here on Grannies. You just saw it in the last 45 seconds. A brilliant hold from Doge Nation. Rocker Academy are not just struggling to get back into the house, but they're going to be hard-pressed to even find an easy rotation over towards Barn, which is much more significantly a more solid money-style hill for this map. So you want to talk about a perfect start to this map, Doge Nation are doing all of the correct things you want to see.
Can they keep it going here for us? Henry has the sight right in front of him. Doesn't matter. He's still able to win the gunfight, but this is maybe a chance here for Rocker Academy to come through, see if they can break open the point. Metals up top. Puts himself 4 in a row. Looks to the side. Will take some shots. Can't find the kill, but out into the hard point will be Rocker. Has some information going to pass right there in front of Metal's eyes, but he needs to win the battles, and he's got nobody here with him. What a re-break here for Doge Nation to get inside a barn and fight for the remaining 20 seconds.
The SMGs for Rocker Academy have not coordinated a double hit really anywhere yet. You've got a couple of proximal kills around the outside of these hills, but as far as actually finding a point of ingress, they're not getting in and finding any success at all. Where has this been for Doge Nation? You want to talk about the potential of Bocage being a sneak away map for them here, Austin. They're not just sneaking away with it. They're robbing them in broad daylight at the moment. We're going to see 100 to 54 as the river hardpoint will open up yellow for Doge Nation. The kills are there to help influence what exactly happens in this first 15. A brilliant start for Doge.
I mean, like, BB Connor here with the AR in hand, 16 and 8 right beside him. You got Henry, who's also got 16 kills to his name. It just feels like there's been so much control, and Lucky is one of those players that might have to start matching it as one of the main ARs here on this Rocker Academy roster. But you are just feeling the pressure here. It is overwhelming, to say the least. But this could now be a chance for Rocker to start to get a bit of time back. But the words come out of my mouth. BB Connor, Abusa, they all find the kills needed to be able to lock down and secure some of the scrap time.
This isn't just good hardpoint from Doge Nation. This is some of the best Bocage hardpoint that we've seen in Challengers. I mean, granted, it's still early. It's the first rotation, and Rocker have done well to at least mitigate a lot of the wins that Doge Nation have been able to find kind of in a macro sense across the map. Only down to within about 30, 40 points here as we get to our second set of hills. Still a ton of game clock, too. So it's not just the fact that the score is tight. The wins have been pretty convincing from both sides so far. So for Doge, it's not just trying to keep this courtyard in your name, but largely also make sure that this rotation stays safe as you want to stay on the left side of the map. A win from Lucky will put a little bit of pressure on that potential rotation. As Real also gets involved, Rocker will now steam forward. Opportunity to get in towards Barn as Lucky keeps safe the river, and both are finding success. Good moment here for Rocker.
Big moment here. Metals up top, trying to at least control a bit of the map here to allow them to have an easy rotation off of P1, but Abusa has just found 3 in the feed, and that's going to make things really difficult to rotate, and they even stiff out Metals. Abusa finding all 4 players of Rocker there. That is going to be good enough to slow things down, give you control of the spawns into the back here, but there will be a chance to try to see if Abusa can work towards some streaks. 5 in a row, 19 and 14 here for him with the submachine gun. He's been putting on so much pressure here against Rocker Academy, but there's a 1v1 for the time, and it will be one here for Real, so Rocker managed to at least fight through the front a little bit and contest a bit of this time.
Great discipline here, though, from Henry. Knowing that his teammates are spawning up, he needs to keep this barn area safe. Doesn't even bother with the hard point initially. Now that they've got numbers, now you turn your focus in towards tanks. Metal's last one left alive here for the Rocker Academy as Real falls in front of him. 10 HP and a dream for Metals, and he eventually gets sideswiped from Whaler's topside barn. Really good. Again, this double AR setup through P1, P2 has been phenomenal for Doge Nation. And with the scrap 15 seconds looking pretty darn convincing, you've already got players trying to influence rotation for Doge towards Grandy's house.
All right, Rocker is starting to mount a bit of a comeback here. They've been able to at least narrow this down to roughly around about 40 points or so. And now Lucky, all alive in the back. Big battle here versus BB Connor. Takes him down. Journey also finds 2 right before it. So a good position for Rocker to make a swift rotation right over to Granny's. It's been 3-4 consecutive kills, but Abusa threatening plays in the back. Will be able to find another double up here. And now he's interested in getting inside of the hill, but that will be locked down for Real and Metals. They have an excellent setup watching over each other's crossfires, and they will defend the push.
And this is what I'm talking about from a couple of hills ago. This is what you need to see from Rocker. Get these SMGs coordinating together, whether that's on breaks or especially and more poignantly on these holds. Great stuff thus far. Real really heating up on 4 in a row. may need to go searching for Henry as he sneaks around the backside, and as, well, Journey will fall to him. It is just Real, the last one really left to stay alive for only a small time. Henry on 3 is still, again, from the front, keeping Doge Nation into this hard point. And the thing about this is, as many times as we see Doge Nation finding small W's, Rocker have done a significant job adjusting and getting these SMGs involved. Real now to 22 and 22. Journey's still having a rough time of it, but Metals is also getting back into level terms, just down 5 to give himself to an even KD.
The fact they brought this back just shows why Rocker is one of the best hardpoint teams here in EU. But can they close? Can they get control of the Barn Hill? Real looking for some shots, takes the challenge, but Whalers will deny him the chance at finding the trade, which means that 2 kills now. Good to be able to at least lock in a bit of the time, but Journey right back, looking for another challenge. Will be taken out from BB Connor. Very scrappy hill with 30 seconds left, and Henry comes through, clears out one more at the front, but the spawns locked down in the back means that this will be good for Doge Nation here for now.
It's a massive 20 seconds for both teams' point of views. And the kills are convincing for Doge Nation. 4 straight members down essentially guarantees the scrap. BB Connor trying to watch as play a little bit of a crossing guard across the street. Takes care of Metals on the high ground, waits for the regen, and then decides, let's go ahead and start bombarding this hard point by way of nades. No connections as of yet. The river will open up, but look at Doge Nation. They don't necessarily care for hitting this from the front. They want to work around the back, and Journey's really the only player to keep this safe, at least initially. Lucky's watching the long side rotation, but doesn't need to be called upon initially because Journey is on 3 in a row, hunting for more. Sees Whalers deep, and you thought maybe for a second he was considering busting through the window to get the kill, but instead takes the safe angle, and that'll be 4 in a row for Journey as Rocker Academy still hold the hard point.
This has been so big. Journey finally dies, but a lot of this hardpoint comes down to what you're controlling at the top. And if you can get someone into grannies like that, watch over that entire mid lane, all of a sudden you only have to focus on watching the front here. But Abusa is able to fly right through the front, and that is actually going to clear out all the remaining Rocker members. They're going to go 4 down, and they're all off their respawns. So this should be about 15 seconds picked up here for Doge Nation, giving them another lead change here in their favor, unless Lucky can come through. But no, he has denied the opportunity. So everything now about to unfold as we go back to P1. This one so extremely close.
And Rocker kind of have to play a bit of recovery here with Henry going on that elimination spree off of his first life, and then more here from the backside of River. He's actually put some stress onto Rocker's initial setup, not just for the first hard point, but of course, most crucially, what we look forward to is what's to come up next for the second. Oh my goodness, what is that brick wall made out of? Apparently not brick. As BB Connor just melts through it, Abuza able to find 2 more on the outside of the hill through Barn, and all of a sudden, Doge Nation, they're winning the war on 2 fronts. They're getting into the hard point, and they're able to control Barn. Good stuff here for our team in yellows. We have a dead tie game at 2:07.
Oh, the scrap time is going to be just actually beautiful here for you. It probably won't come down to the game clock, however, so you could still end on P2, but spawns now in the back. Doge Nation in a great position to be able to get themselves a fact track rotation over to P2, but Lucky has to play his life. He gets the information that they're all in the back. BB Connor will actually end up dropping down, but Whalers, can he hold the line inside of Barn? No, he cannot. Journey for 2, and now there's a chance to flip back. The spawn is still back here, though, for Doge Nation. However, it's control inside of P2 right now for Rocker.
It's not just inside of P2. They've got pressure through Tin. They've got pressure in Barn, and they're watching mid-map. The only thing that's really gone awry for them is Metals getting pretty much just catching a nade over the top from Abusa, who turns that into a quick double, but it doesn't make a difference. The trades are still good for Minnesota, and with that, the spawns will also flip. 35 seconds to play for. Rocker Academy can win here, and they're still zoning out the front. Convincing kills from Metals and Journey create vacancy to try to put this game away here.
Oh no, Metals is on the tank. Look at them as they come off spawn. It's all falling apart here for Doge Nation. They can't even get past grannies. There is no way they're going to have a chance at being able to contest this yellow. Journey goes on a 6 spree, gets the streak. Streaks aren't needed. Rocker Academy, they get themselves back into that one, and they'll steal the Bocage hardpoint away from Doge.
Another heartbreaker for Doge Nation in this first couple of days worth of action. Yesterday, they went 1 in 4. Pardon me, between yesterday and this first match today, they've gone 1 in 4 in hardpoint. But the thing about it is, all of their losses have been over 215 points to 250. We say it very regularly when it comes to being able to close out your searches. But when you've got a team like Rocker Academy on the ropes and your top leading performers are struggling a little bit, you have to make sure that you're taking a convincing hold of these hard points, because with how good Rocker Academy are individually, moments like we just saw in that final 45 seconds are very prone to happen. And the thing is, like, you look at that replay moment right there, through the third hard point, Doge Nation, they'd hold that third hill better than just about any other moment we've seen other teams in the CDL or especially challengers do. You get a solid lockdown, a spawn trap in the back. It looks so convincing, but Rocker do not know how to go away peacefully. They streak together, they dig into the deficit, and then by the end, they go on a convincing run of their own to put this map away.
And it's this hill actually that we're seeing right now through the replay that everything had started to change, and they started to actually, get the subs more involved. There was an excellent crossfire setup from Real, who was sitting at the top of Granny's, watching the back window, while you have, I believe it was Metals, who was also inside the point in the corner, watching the entire front and the side door. So there was just such a nice setup that it was too difficult to break, and Doge could never really find an answer to that hill, and that's the one that Rocker Academy needed to start to work themselves back through. And you could see Journey. Journey actually had a really slow start to that map, and ends up finishing 36 and 37. Like, the amount of engagements, the amount of pressure he is forcing on the map. I mean, not that it's surprising because it's Bocage, but he's able to just put so much in compared to everyone else here on his team. And that is one of the huge factors and why they're also able to get back through here for us and bring that one back. But Doge Nation, I feel like they got to be extremely frustrated with the way that they started out, with the way that BB Connor had just it's such an excellent start at like 16 and 8 when we were around the first rotation around P3, P4. That one's going to sting. It's certainly going to hurt here for you, as this was the number one hardpoint team. I think they had an excellent map choice. They showed us that you can be exploited here on Bocage, but they just don't have enough to finish it off.
And the thing too, and I'm actually going to be really curious to go back and kind of rewatch how Rocker Academy tried to approach their adjustments, because Doge Nation's double AR setup was very successful for them, and the SMGs, as you mentioned, Journey in particular, slow start, they weren't able to find favorable gunfights. And the thing is, when you're running 3 SMGs versus the 2 ARs on the opposite side, I think inherently you should be thinking of, let's get all 3 SMGs away from the outside of the map and let them exist inside of these interior places, whether they're hard points or not, depending on what's open at the moment. Just get them inside and force the ARs to feel a little bit less comfortable locking down long lanes. And if I'm not mistaken, there were a couple of moments where we did see that adjustment happen. So I'll have to go back and recheck to see if that's exactly the mental kind of change that Rocker Academy put together. But regardless, Journey really did step up. And now the news gets worse for the side of
it
Doge
doesn't get
Nation.
better, does it?
No. Playing Rocker Academy on anything Berlin typically sees you get smacked around a little bit, whether it's hardpoint or search. And as you see it on screen, it will be a search and destroy on Berlin coming up next. This is a tough one, I think, just to kind of set up from the side of Doge Nation, just due to how historically good Rocker Academy have been on this map mode combo.
They've been so good, Alan. I think like the only time they've ever lost like a Berlin S&D was like at the very first day back in stage 1 when they played a team and it went went the distance to a map 5 and it was like round 11. That was the only time I think they've lost this map mode combination. Other than that, they've tightened up on it. Teams have hard vetoed it for the reason they just don't want to go up against Rocker when they play this, because they play it in a way that's almost like annoying with the way that they play their lives, with the information that they get, of course, off the crosses, and they're so good at executing on their post plant setups. I think that's the number one thing that I've been most impressed with. When they're attacking, they get the bomb down, they almost never lose those rounds with the way that they play their life. They have multiple AR players on this roster, which makes it very easy to play off of that B site, look for those long range engagements, and at times we've even seen the scope come out here on Berlin as well to open up for a lot of value here. So I mean, this is going to be really difficult for Doge Nation without a doubt, and if you've opted into letting a Berlin S&D through against Rocker Academy, I have to imagine you have an idea on how you want to come in a little bit differently with it. You want to come in with a different approach, whether that's just a lot of aggression, suffocating them in the back when they're on their attacking rounds, or just looking for really aggressive ways to be able to open up with your own plays through mid-map or through these sites to be able to kind of create some early advantages. But without a doubt, this one's going to be tough. And I mean, Rocker, like, they don't even have to prep anything on this map because they've played it so much. They just know exactly what to do at all moments throughout the map.
And the thing too is, and as we framed this one up at the top of the broadcast for this series, United Nations, which was 3/4 of this current Doge Nation roster, went 1-7 in Search and Destroy. They're only 1-3 so far through their first 3 matches, a 6-2 win versus Vengeance on Tuscan. So it's A situation where you look at, okay, you made a roster swap that has to influence progress, right? Like that's got to be the easy one for one evaluation. Did your roster move, Jerd out, allow you a chance to find more success? Hard to say for now because sample size is still a little bit low. But
Right.
I think the points that you were bringing up is opportunistic moments. Can you take advantage of that? It's not just numbers, it's not just first bloods, but trying to contain on this map is difficult to do because of how widespread it is, and like you mentioned, how fast Rocker are prone to play on both sides of the bomb. So I think containment is kind of a big thing here for Doge Nation. It's not necessarily just finding numbers advantage, being successful in early engagements, but containing the map, trying to make sure that you've got some sort of a handle and at least the awareness of what's going on. Because if you find yourself missing intel, that's the moment where Rocker Academy start to really punish you, it feels like.
Oh, do they ever? I just like, you could never let this team get going because like the best thing I think watching over this squad is that every single player can go off. It's why they've been teaming with each other for such a long time, because you just know there's a lot of trust built into every single member on this roster. And I think that's the number one thing that we talk about with all the top teams, whether that's EU, whether that's North America, whether that's the CDL. It's the teams that have that built-in trust and synergy that ends up going such a long way. And it's also, you know, combines with the fact that you know what your teammates are looking to do because you have so much time spent with them. You have all these scrims, all of these matches, even lands from the past years, you know, with Lucky and Metals, right? Like there is so much here for them that you know at all times, like what everyone's trying to do. And I feel like that just goes such a long way when you no longer have to ask them, hey, like, are you pushing here? Or like, what are you looking to do? Like they know what they're going to do it instinctively. So I think that goes a really long way when you go up against a team that is pretty much always on the same page, where combined, where Doge Nation obviously have not found a lot of success. A lot of what they're going to be doing is going to be probably situational plays, acting on the fly, trying to react to what Rocker has done, and then set up counters for it as you're starting to learn what they've done here over the last couple of rounds here. So it's a lot easier said than done. But I mean, the thing that we have to kind of say is like, this is a must win, right? You're going into a map number 3 where they have been really good, it feels like, in control. And this is just a map that I think you just have to win, man. Like Doge Nation have just been so lackluster when it comes to closing out series that it starts here. And if you have a great start like you did in the map number 1, maybe you can carry that through, but the important part is carrying it through if you do, and not letting up on the gas pedal and not allowing Rocker to work back into the map.
Yeah, Doge Nation has been very poor, even on the defensive side of both maps control-wise. So it definitely is a difficult kind of pretense to try to build up. The other thing, too, to kind of keep in mind, you know, as much as we're looking at this Doge Nation team very unfavorably because of their current match win-loss record, they've played up against some of the best teams in their group so far. Like, they got reverse swept by Vengeance yesterday. They just came off of an 0-3, which they held pretty close against Ultra Academy, who's looking like a major favorite into this group to make playoffs. And then their opening matchup was a tight 3-map series versus the Originals, which is one that maybe you look back on at the end of the week and say, if only we could have pulled a couple of maps here or there, maybe that would have been an opportunity for us to sneak away a win.
Sure.
The thing about it is, with how heavy loaded the top side of this EU group is, you can't just beat the teams that are in the bottom 2, bottom 3. You have to be able to beat a major opponent. And that's what's been missing for both the United Nations in the first stage and Doge Nation here. But up 1-0 so far, Rocker Academy. We get into the cinematic fly-through of the Search and Destroy in Berlin. And this venue has to find success for Doge Nation. You cannot go down 0-2 and expect to reverse sweep this team. Very few, if any, have been able to do that, no matter how good they are.
And someone we haven't even talked about yet is how they're going to deal with Lucky, man. Like that guy after stage 1, 1.5 S&D KD, he was just single-handedly dismantling teams. So there is a lot of things you got to watch out for, but that should have been a lot of information here for BB Connor to give over to a squad that is looking at approaching the A site. And they do manage to find Metals on the exit, trying to get away with his life. It's not going to happen, but Real does trade one back, so 3v3 we go. It's not safe to plant the bomb, and now more trades come through as we go into the 2v2.
And Real's got so much convincing control forward in the train station here, where they know Doge Nation has to be on the outside. Almost an opportunity. I thought for a second he was going to get that call out and be able to turn that into an opportunity for a 1v2, but no, not the case. Doge Nation rule the outside of the train platform, and BB Connor makes sure that his teammate in Henry never really even gets shot at.
Yeah, just good teamwork here, playing with one another and will not allow any kind of a miracle 1v2 happen. So that's a good start, right? They get a lot of information on the cross right away. They're ready for those challenges. They're ready for the aggression from Rocker. They get their guns up. They find the immediate kills. But the more important part after that is once Real gets from behind, they're able to find effective trades and equalize the playing field here and then win out in the 2v2. So good start here for Doge. But Rocker Academy now, their offensive attack here looks like it is lined up initially for an A hit, but Real has just been able to push his way through bottom secret, finds an easy pickup onto Whalers, which is going to open up a lot more of the map here. One of your ARs has been eliminated, and it's going to be a quick rotation over to B.
That initial setup is beautiful. We'll talk more about that later as Journey finds himself in a 1v1 with Abuza outside of the B site. He wins that and immediately turns in towards the bomb site itself to get the plant. In this rotation for Doge Nation, you have to clear every single angle because Real is somewhere. You don't know where. He's a ghost at the night at the moment. Fortunately, BB Con is able to find him, but the problem is look at the post plant for Rocker. They're pushing even further beyond the lobby. And Henry, I don't believe, is going to realize this, but he makes the right call by going around the outside. Hold on a second. This is a 2v4, now made a 2v2. Time becoming a big problem with nade still remaining. An opportunity maybe to get a couple of connections on the Lucky. Not the case, leaving it just down to BB Connor for the 1v2. Wins the first, second one just outside. Quick challenge coming through, and that will be won by Lucky to make sure Rocker Academy salvage the 4v2 situation they built up for them.
Yeah, it gets a little bit close, but this is also what I was kind of talking about, setting up the match where it doesn't feel like Rocker dropped too many of their post plants with the way that they set up. Like you could see there, a lot of teams, right now default to playing at the back of their spawn once they get the B bomb site down. Not Rocker, right? They're right on top of the site. They're pushing all the way through docks, playing at the back P3 spawn, and despite metals, getting picked off, it still gives them so much information and time to work with, and you can see them close it out there very nicely. So right into round 3. This time around, it has been kind of the similar start to the very first round here. Doge Nation still looking to get themselves inside of A, but do they know Real is here? It's looking like a hard no. It's just a matter of what he can find. Real takes shots. He does end up dropping, but he finds a kill before he does. It will be numbers over to Rocker, but the bomb should get planted here for Doge.
Good read from Whalers. You know that you have a sniper playing deep, and you have that other contestant at A still playing outside the courtyard. So you've got a chance to get this bomb planted freely, and it gives you a chance to at least put the clock in your favor. The metals immediately hopping in. Long wrap coming out for Doge Nation. They're going to get here in time. They're not even going to look at it. Oh, the kill comes through. Oh, they've actually, no, I was going to say for a second there, it looked like the circle had not completely turned purple, and I thought maybe they got the kill in time, but no, we got you baited just a touch. The last shots coming out from Lucky will be the final kill, but the highlight is the defuse snuck by metals.
I think the game was even a little confused there. It's like, did that go through? Did it not go through?
For real, dude.
It was so close, but they do stick it. They make the right call. Metals doesn't have a kill on the board, but he still gets his team the round, just hopping on top of it there, not going searching for kills. There's no need to when you have the numbers like that. And just a heads-up play for Rocker to be able to get themselves 2 rounds in a row. And Lucky, who's on 3 in a row, the standout S&D player here throughout Europe in Stage 1, wants to bring some of that here in Stage 2 and is already off to an excellent start. But Real, he's been able to find Henry, who's got no support behind enemy lines here. And that means that's going to be an easy first blood for Real right off the bat.
How does he even get the sandbag stairs? Were there no nades pushed down towards pillars? If you're going to set up a passive defense, you need to check it with nades. And Abuser says, Shift, I got you. How about this nade? 2, tallying up both Lucky and Journey. One of those was the bomb carrier in the form of Journey, leading it to all of a sudden a 3v2 situation favoring Doge Nation's defense.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what Metals has for weaponry here, because we know Real has a sub, and Metals does find a kill, but that doesn't help us any because it's a headshot. So it might have been an automaton with the range of that, meaning that you could still look for Real to make an aggressive play and grab the bomb. And yes, he does have the auto, so he can at least look to contest some of these further battles here as he's going to stick the bomb plant, but they've lost Real. And now it's a matter of can Metals actually exit with his life. He's going to take the challenge. The stun, though, it goes awry. And Abuza will be able to finish off the kill for what I believe was an ace here in the round.
Yep, sure is. I mean, it's just a little popcorn nade tossed at the exact right moment, and then keeping the defuse in reach the entire way by playing a pretty forward position outside courtyard. Good 2 eliminations coming out. And my initial jolted surprise of how does Real get to side stairs as fast as he does without even being checked or dissuaded in any form immediately gets reacted by the ace from Abuza. So all of a sudden, 2-2 is the count and potential streaks on the board. How does Doge Nation want to hold this? Because I think that at a certain point, if you can get this bomb planted at B and just have Abusa be the player in the back to sit a post-plant situation, that'll be a free 5th kill at least. So they're going to take the bomb immediately in towards mailroom. Contest on the way, though, as Journey has snuck into the side office. And that will actually maybe even be red here, as there's not a lot of great intel off of the nades. Doge Nation say we're not interested in B. Let's rewrap back over to a late transition to A.
All right, I like the play call, but you have to do it very quickly, and Henry is already on top of it. So if you can get inside here, drop this bomb. Real, I think, is throwing a nade in. Will it find a kill? No, it won't. It goes wide. So they get the bomb down, they make the rotation, and Whalers all the way in the back here watching this exit off the B.
Whalers doesn't see Lucky. Whalers? I mean, look, we're staring right at him because he's got a purple outline, but brother, might need to see the optometrist because he was easily visible from that position. Doesn't make too much of a difference, though, because Lucky is still taking a long flanker on the back, which Henry is able to just find some blessed timing on. Everything largely just rests on the Journey's play from mid. Nothing will happen there, and Doge Nation flawlessly take round number 5 to give themselves a 3-2 advantage.
Yeah, that was flawless indeed. Like, everything they did there, it's just how fast you do it. I'm a big fan of making rotations on the fly, especially when you use all of your nades and utility at one of the sites, because they're expecting you to try to push through or at least work for a pick. But as soon as you make that call to say, okay, we're going to go over to A, you have to rush in there. And Henry does exactly that. No fear, breaking down the doors, gets the bomb down, no hesitation. And that's how you need to play those rotational plays, just like that. And they're able to put themselves up here 3-2 over Rocker Academy. And this has been very clean so far. Rocker, they're going to default back to their B push, where they have a chance at being able to drop this bomb freely. Do have to watch for the nades here, and that's why you see Journey kind of just holding off for a second. He's got 1 HP in a dream, and he's going to be able to save his life. And now Real's in the back, but it will be still evened up here as we go 3v3.
Dude, it makes your head hurt. How does Real keep getting through the defense every single time? Abusa on 6. Hold on a second. He's got to make a decision here. He's kind of stuck inside the bomb site. He's 1 away from a glide bomb. How big would that be? And Minnesota are just like, fine.
You're not going anywhere.
We'll wait for you. You're stuck. I mean, the thing about this is he's got the bomb with him. The problem is there's so many windows he's got to be worried about. And eventually, as they slowly creep forward, they take Abusa down and also eliminate the threat of streaks. But I'll say again, it's just Real just runs along the sidewall of fire while everyone's cooking up nades for Journey and takes down 2, which is essentially the round-winning play. It's just, how do you deal with it? I don't know. I have no answers.
I don't have an answer either, because he's like Houdini with the way that he gets behind enemy lines all times. It's quite impressive, honestly, because on a map like Berlin, you'd think that you'd have the mid-map locked down, a lot of these entryways, but not always the case. That's a big call out here for BB Connor. Knows that 3 players have essentially crossed over to A, but 2 of them have just quickly maneuvered over to the top of P5 here, and now they're going to be pinched inside of the site. Journey just ready to rush in there. BB Connor does deal at least with 1 of them, but you still have to try to push through, and they're doing it. They're going to read the play correctly, and now they have the 3v2 advantages. They might look to go over to B, but they have plenty of time on the clock to work with.
There were really 2 options that Doge Nation had here. Either push through because you know you have only 1 defender in front of you, or isolate the player that just snuck in behind you. They decided to push forward, and this actually puts a significant amount of pressure onto Rocker Academy to respond defensively, with Journey kind of caught at Courtyard and Lucky now stuck, rotating back through B. Now he's going to be able to get back into lobby freely, and has he just seen Henry slide across? Well, now he's seen him, and he's got information on Abusa. This is an opportunity for Lucky to get this to a 1v1. He may be a little bit too disciplined off the trigger. Gets the read, does Doge Nation on the re-attack back from the flank, and with that, back up by 1 through 7.
That was almost one of the craziest Call of Duty timings I've ever seen. Like, 2 players just immediately rotate through. They're like, all right, we should be good. We've been inside of the back here for a while. And then Henry does 1 last check while Lucky goes behind the pillar, and he turns and he just kind of escapes his line of vision. But in the end, they still are able to find him there. A chance for Lucky without a doubt. But Doge Nation, they are starting to find their stride, still holding on to this game. They have been leading the charge. They would love to put themselves up here with a bit of cushion. We'll see if they can do it. Henry has to defend the site, and we'll be able to get a little assistance here with them. No trade comes through for Real. That's also going to be the bomb down, so tough situation right now for Rocker Academy.
Look, there's a lot of things going right for Doge Nation through these 8 rounds of Search, including a little bit of a shot through the doorway. Okay. Oh, my goodness, hold that. He almost
didn't die.
Put his teeth around it. It was high level for a moment. The kill still comes through, though. It's just, the thing about it is, if you think about the 3 rounds that Rocker Academy have won, I think every single one of them have been off of just an incredible piece of timing of someone slipping through. Doge Nation have really put together a solid search thus far, including the 3 kills from Henry there to keep the A bomb site safe.
Yeah, and well, we were, really framing this one up like, don't play Rocker Academy on Berlin S&D, but apparently Doge Nation, they have done their prep, they have done their homework, they know how Rocker Academy likes to play, and they are just using it to their advantage. We have Henry, who's on another spree. I want to say they do have a strafing run here for Abusa as well. That was earned a little bit earlier on, but I like this switch up. Lucky says, all right, it's time to switch things up. Let's bring out the scope, finds a kill. We'll take down one of the key players here for the side of Doge Nation. Eliminates BB Connor, and you can see how that has affected the rest of the team here as everyone has slowed down here for a moment trying to search for some info.
And the difference here for Rocker Academy is you don't actually commit a defender over to B. You just have Journey with the safety blanket of that sniper rifle initially to just watch to see if anyone crosses. And you can contest mid-map from this position that number 8 is at. So really good setup here for Rocker, just kind of taking a more passive approach. There we go. Immediately called out. Journey does feel one player kind of trying to work across. Whaler's good damage plus a good elimination, but the problem is he's tagged down low and Real's already taking away his next exit. So a more disciplined, clinical, and arguably I think you can use the word safe defense here for Rocker. But hey, if it works, it works. And Lucky with the sniper rifle opening the first blood makes it even more secure off the initial play.
And now, coming in here, what are we going to get for Rocker? Because they've kind of defaulted over to the B site a little bit here for themselves. Yeah. And are they going to try to switch things up, get into A? Because they've had a hard problem with dealing with Henry. The last time around, he finds that 2-piece, and that kind of stuffs the push right there. But it looks like that bomb, at least right off the start here, is coming over to A, but they lose Lucky, and I think that's going to signal a fast rotation, but Real, he can't afford to go down here. If they find him, they're going to lose much control, and Abusa finds the kill. No trade has come through just yet, and now Rocker Academy have to try to get something done, but Journey and Metals, they both answer back, and we're right into a 2v2.
That is an unbelievable read from Rocker Academy by Journey and Metals in that 2v4. You know that Real's being pressured not by 1, but by 2 defenders. So you've got the opportunity to sneak through. And even though you don't love to do that as the bomb carrier, you still kind of have to make that play. And then once you get those eliminations, you know you've got a free B bomb site. So 2v2 on the retake. And this is the first time we've actually seen a significant post-plant set up around B for either side. BB Connor is going to be the first one to try to break this apart, but Metals is taking a long wrap back. Point of contact play from Journey is able to find first blood in this last engagement. And now Henry would have to do something very desperate. And as he moves forward, he does take down 1. Maybe a chance here to find Metals, who is trying to sneak his way back forward, but I think Metals is hearing all these doors be broken open, and there will not be enough time for the kill plus the defuse. Rocker Academy, couple rounds in a row, are going to send us to a crucial round 11.
Oh, you can never count them out, can you?
No,
just
never.
When you think you got them on the ropes. Round 11 strikes in Rocker Academy, a chance to be able to still go 2-0 up here in the series. That time, I mean, that was a 4v2, right? That they actually worked back from off the back end of, I think it was Journey who found that massive opening kill at the top of fire, and then makes a swift rotation over to the site to make sure they get the bomb down, and then they play the back here. So it is going to be Rocker back on the attack here. And last time around, it was initially A. They quickly moved over to B. And this time around, it looks like it could be B right off the rip. At least some stuns and nades will throw some attention over to the site here for Doge Nation to try to respond with, as it's a stack kind of at the back of A and in fire.
This is a response to how aggressive Rocker have been through this fire location, both around the outside towards B, as well as just cutting underneath through statue. And Real's once again able to sneak forward to get a first blood. So now it's on to Whalers, really the only defensive player who could possibly do anything towards people. I mean, look at all the yellow arrows. They're still aware that Real could just be underneath us. They're so worried about his position that Journey's going to get another free plant off. And this is an unbelievable post plant for Rocker. They have all the places that they could possibly want to hold off against this rebreak.
Whalers up top here. I mean, like, you have to go. You have to start clearing out some of the areas here. They're going to find Real inside of Mayo, but the shots don't come through for Henry. It's all falling apart at the seam once again. Another kill there for Metals, and now it's all up to one. Whalers with an AR has to battle up against 3 Rocker Academy players with no time on the clock. Lucky's going for some trick shots as he jumps off the top ropes. Well, there it is. Rocker Academy, too much room to work with in that final round, and they make the 5-3 comeback happen.
That's just, wow. Look, I think that there are going to be some people out there that are going to look at me like, Doge, what have you done? How have you not finished this one off? But those last 3 rounds were just immaculate from Minnesota. Really, honestly. The 2v4, the perfect play happened. Like, how do you respond to that 2v4 off the information that you got off your 2 fallen comrades? You get the play that Journey has to sneak through, clear fire, other kill happens on the mid-map cross, free B bomb site, get the plant, hit the post plant. That round is once again all about the fact that Doge Nation are terrified of what Real could potentially do to them. They're so scared that Real actually gets freedom to do what he's done over the course of the last handful of rounds in a row, which is sneak on in, get a couple of kills in and around fire, and then essentially just back off, where Doge Nation are so worried that he's still persisting underneath them that they can't make a play to contest the rotation to B. It really is just, oh, wow. It says a lot, not just about the Rocker Academy team, but especially about Real, that he's not just able to make those plays happen, but that the rest of his teammates trust him to make those plays. All these highlights, Austin, are from Real inside fire, bro. Like, come on.
This playground, like there's so many moments where there is also not a trade coming through, and here it is in the round 11, right? He slips through the doorway where there's no one watching it, and you have to actually kind of call it Whalers a little bit, because he was sitting at the top of fire. He needs to get that trade, right? If he gets Abusa, that's fine, as long as a trade can come through, and that's also going to give you a little bit more insight that, hey, they're probably making a play towards B, guys. We need to stop playing so passive at the back of fire and at the back of A. Have to start to rotate at least one of our members over. That doesn't happen whatsoever. They can't find the kill, and like you said, they have no idea if Real actually escapes back, or if he's below, sitting in fire, waiting for them to actually start to play retake here. So it creates so much additional influence here, you know, against the Doge Nation squad that's trying to figure out where these players are going, where they're slipping to, and Real just plays such a massive factor in why Rocker Academy make that comeback happen, why they find as many rounds as they do. And I mean, that's one that once again slips away here for Doge Nation. Like, they're having great starts, but it's still closing and finishing, which is, you know, difficult to do against a Rocker Academy, don't get me wrong, but it's necessary if you're going to find a series win when you're already 0-3 and now you're 0-2 in your 4th match going into a control where Rocker have notoriously been very good in. So this is going to be even more difficult here for them, and they were so close. I have to imagine that one's certainly going to be stinging them once again as they're frustrated, kicking themselves.
There's been a lot of moments for this Doge Nation team where I think we could categorize their first 2 days of group stage play here in stage 2 off of what you just said. Solid starts, not able to close things out. Whether that be search, hardpoint, control, it's just kind of persisted as a problem for them, just looking at the scores, which, to be fair, have all been round 9 or beyond search and destroys, or 200 plus to 250 losses on hardpoints. Difficult, but that's the growing pains. And that's, you know, here's the other thing. If you want to just look at the macro of just challengers right now, the teams that have been sticking together since the beginning are going to be able to know where adjustments need to happen. Whereas the teams that are making roster changes, even if it's 1 or 2 players, not a full roster change, they're still learning those intricacies about, oh, when we dealt with this before, how did we respond? What should we be doing to respond? Rocker Academy have those answers, and we've seen it now for 2 straight maps. And an opportunity for them to put out a 3-0 against Doge Nation on the Tuscan control, which comes up next. And, well, for the control overall, essentially copy-paste the same things we were talking about Rocker Academy and the hard point. Just in respawn in general, this team is very dangerous.
Are they ever? 2-0 here on the Tuscan control, looking to make it 3-0. Doge Nation, if they got anything left, they're going to have to bring it here. 0-3 so far in control. Have not been able to find a whole lot of favor in this game mode here, and a lot of them have been fairly convincing. 3-0s, 3-1s, 1-3-2. That was on Gavutu, so whole different beast when we talk about Tuscan, and Rocker so good at being able to read the map, take away big plays from happening here. But let's see what they can do. They're going to be starting on the attacking side first. Doge Nation going to be going for the cheeky little B push here off the rip to see if they can maybe get a little bit of early progress.
Oh, but Real gets a stun check. I think it connects. And he's in a position over the top of these barricades to do some work. It's Real for 2. And a little bit of help from Nettles. Oh, it's just, as soon as I saw Real hit the brakes, topside corner at Patio, I was like, this isn't going to go well for Doge Nation. The dog mascot might still be smiling, but the rest of the members of the team are likely starting to cry a little bit. That's just an unbelievable read from Real. Knowing he's the solo player with an SMG, doesn't want to risk playing forward towards P5. He gets the early stun check, and it leads to a 3-man wipe. And now all of a sudden, we're underneath 60 seconds of Doge Nation struggling to put anything together.
Oh, they're just going to make a desperation attempt happen over to B. They do read the flank here, and they do at least create a tad bit of room to work with at the start of P5, but now BB Connor finds a second, so sure, they're finding kills, but are they going to be able to touch the zone? Real just runs at them, combines for 2, but it does allow them to shift over. They're going to be down a few lives in total, but they're still in a position where they can at least stop the clock and try to work towards A.
The thing about this is you don't have the ability right now with the low clock for Doge Nation to milk this for extra kills because you need the extra 60 seconds. So Rocker are going to have the ability, not necessarily to fully contest this zone, but they can play for exit kills. Although, I kind of have to stop myself here because they do play for a retake. Maybe a bit greedy, honestly, considering the lives were relatively even at the beginning of that look. And the clock is still not good. Like a minute 20, 19v19. Not great news here for Doge Nation, but Rocker do give him a little bit of breathing room to allow an exit and an opportunity with a couple of kills to put a little bit of threat on towards B, but largely it's corrected. Rocker with 4 straight kills, only losing 1 in the mix, have now killed off an extra 45 seconds or so, and the lives start to become a bit more of a problem for Doge Nation.
They sure do, and I mean, so far, Doge Nation have not been able to find an answer on how to actually break past this wall of defense, and how can you when you have Real shooting like this, finding multi-kills that is just slowing down push after push, and then who's there to pick up Real's position? It's Journey. Just a beautiful synergy right now throughout this Rocker Academy roster, understanding at all times what needs to be picked up, where to go as soon as someone drops. And you're going to have a 2-2 split right now. So you're having a lot of pressure on Whalers and Abuser to find a lot of value to try to coordinate with their teammates to see if they can retake the front of P5.
Yeah, and Doge Nation realized that as much as they would love to get around the back, you have to make sure someone gets on in the first place. So they send those 2 members that were through church back up to the high ground to try to contest this. And Whalers will be able to at least take care of 1 player in the patio, but there's just so many other Rocker members nearby. Real is 12 and frickin' 2, bro. Like, stupid. Just stop it. Stop it.
You know, Alan, that Real kid,
He's not too bad. Good.
He's not too bad, is he?
Hey, that's pretty good.
It is pretty good, let me tell you. I mean, Jesus, this guy, he's just been so good in every game mode. It's not like he's just, a star player in one of them or 2 of them. He's been so consistent throughout every single one. Like 2 deaths in a full round of control while entering in and getting aggressive. I mean, he was at the start of that B push at the very first round all by himself. And now here we are as we go into round 2. Doge Nation have to bounce back with a defensive round of their own. Journey does look for an opening, but Henry will quickly back up and punish the play here. As you have Lucky, who's just been calmly waiting on top of the site, trying to see if he can earn some early progress over to A. That first tick is just about in, will be secured now. And you have Henry over the middle of the map, who could look to play retake here. A couple players are going to drop. Journey able to find 2 before he falls.
All right, opportunity though still. Doge Nation continuing to find trades. Means that Metals does not feel safe enough to stay on this A zone. Still plenty of time though, and off of respawn, members can reinforce. But this mid-map, largely dominated by our team in yellow. Doge Nation continuing to put some pressure, not just over the middle, but actually beyond it. Abuses all the way on the flank. Now, the question will be, does he get here in time to make any use of this?
What? How did he win that?
He just got put on a poster. Are you kidding me? Real just snapped his ankles and maybe a left stick, right stick, or something in the process. Oh, no.
How did he win that? Like, my goodness.
No.
Oh my goodness! Metals again in the back, finds 2. Oh, I mean, Real's got to kill. That's the only way he'll die. He's got to take himself out with his own streak. His own glide bomb is what has to deal with him. He knows it. They can't kill me, so I'll kill myself here. I got to even up the odds a little bit. Oh, man. On to B we go. It will be cleared off here, but you are going to be down at least 4 lives, but that's going to be good recovery. Henry and Whalers, they get a couple back. Lucky, big role to play at the back of the map with no assistance, no one with him, but he uses the plants and a bit of cover to his advantage. He's got a small little crack he's going to try to use here for the next challenge, but he is staying alive, and now Real is actually going to be able to create some pressure here through Church Alley.
Nice play from Whalers. Let's calm down, everybody, all right? Let's get this back to where we are, which is currently still Doge Nation doing a pretty solid job defensively, not just around the zone, but in particular, Whalers looking for 5 is all the way pushed forward, forcing Rocker Academy to have to hit from the north side of the map. And BB Connor's in a great spot. He's got help from Abusa behind him. This is a solid defensive setup, as they know exactly where Rocker Academy are going to have to hit from. So Whalers, again, turns his attention back over towards Church, gets behind the play. Number 6 for Whalers. Okay. Shut down from getting streaks, but the kills are still good. And Doge Nation have now all of a sudden gotten themselves a bit of a life lead and only have 35 seconds to kill off the clock before they win this defense.
So not too bad. 30 seconds left. Have one good push here from the front, more or less, and Henry is going to be able to find a massive kill. And he's got the complete front of P5 on lock here. And it looks like Rocker has kind of posted up a little bit. I think they might just be interested in playing for kills. I don't believe they'll play for one more push here with the way that they're spread out here across the map. And yet, I don't think that's going to be the play. They understand this one. It's not going to happen. They have no ticks of progress. They're down in lives. So let's just play our lives, boys. No need to force this play. Let's just reset and go into round number 3.
Honestly, I think everyone is going to be thinking back on that round and be thinking, Real. We didn't say his name enough. One more Real. But the impressiveness of that defense hold is actually brilliant from Doge Nation. And a lot of it, I think you get exemplified by Whalers' play through rooftops, some P5 into roofs. And he clears off so much space, but the most important part about it is he's able to make sure that he knows where Rocker Academy is spawning, and he continues to play the entire way through behind them. So good stuff. And now Doge Nation, a 4-man hit to A with a 3 stack with kills. Okay, this is going to be 2 ticks of progress guaranteed. And I think the only thing you could really look at here as far as over criticism is there was space to take forward beyond this zone, and they have kind of opted to just play a little bit more stagnant and statuesque around this A zone, which does allow Rocker a chance to set their defense up for B.
Oh, man. Yeah, another 3-piece exiting off of the zone. Lucky gets the 4th. And now you know every single player is going to be coming off spawn here. So you get a really early zone, but we all know the big problem here in control on Tuscan is about the B point, not about the A point. And Journey's going to start to bounce back and forth. He's also got a strafing run to work with for himself here that could potentially come into play offensively or defensively. But it's all about trying to first get through. Henry with a great set nade, but Whalers is going to take himself out. So that is going to hurt quite a bit, isn't it? Henry now is kind of left all alone up top here with one teammate on the patio. BB Connor's going to drop. Henry desperately looking for the kill. Does find Real, so he's able to at least keep this forward position. But look at the reinforcements. They can't get to him because of player 5. Journey makes a heads-up play and is able to play his life to make sure that no one else here is able to get to the zone.
And Henry thought that he maybe had some space to work with to block off reinforcements. Problem is, as he loses the gunfight, now pretty much all high ground is going to be contested as Rocker Academy have gotten back up to patio. Metals, the defensive member to hold. Help from beyond, though, as Real and Lucky are nearby. Journey's just worried about the flank. Kill's good. Henry nearly snaps onto Lucky for a double, but he's got help, so trades will start to come through. Abuser around the back sees the rifle barrel of Lucky, but cannot get away from Journey, and those exchanges, although it's good for the lives, not good for progress on B initially for Doge Nation.
Good trades back and forth. Little bait and switch there for Rocker in the back. Make sure that they're able to come back through, reinforce if needed. Only one more player up and alive. That's Whalers, and Journey backs up to deal with them. Back to step 1 right now for Doge Nation, trying to cut through the front, and that has really been the big problem. As soon as they get through, they can't hold on to it, but Lucky, he's taken a wrap all the way around the map. He hasn't found any kills here, but this is going to stop you from pressing forward right away, worrying about where Lucky could have went, and now you're low on time. 23 seconds left on this clock.
Looking good for the defense, you'd figure. But, that said, progress being made. members here, and teammate
kill.
actually helps out a touch. That's going to be enough for the first tick of progress. Still a lot to be done, though. And BB Connor is just trying to play a bit of an overwatch in this moment. Whalers will fall, and similarly so will Connor. So 12 seconds. And with lives staggering for Doge Nation, not just in the round, but overall, they will kind of have to make up that ground in the total elimination feed in their next defensive attempt, as they will be down, I'm not going to try to do math. Double digits, though, at least. That much is for sure.
For sure. And I think the big factor here so far, at least with the differences, is Rocker has actively, tried to work to the back to try to force that grass spawn and block that back tank spawn. We saw Lucky do it in the round previous, where he was able to get back there for a little bit and buy his teammates some time from the front, where that hasn't really been happening so far here for Doge Nation, right? So we'll see if they can kind of keep up what they've been doing really well on, which has been, solid defenses. They have been holding the point. They have been at least, able to keep them off of the ticks of progress here around B, but we'll see if they can maybe have a good start over towards A as well. Connor with a great preset nade. He's had a few of those here off the rip. That has equaled the first blood here, but it's still what we typically expect. On to A early. However, Abusa, he's got a great flank, and he's able to find one up top.
Yeah, I really do like the continual pressure that Doge Nation are putting defensively up towards Fire. It was Whalers at the end of the last defensive round. This time it's Abusa who's actually kind of shadowing and mimicking his same route around the back. But with that said, Minnesota have felt pretty confident in what they've been able to do towards A, and with a bit of an opening here through Church, they're actually going to get over towards B, and there's really no defenders that are here. So a two-player stack with eliminations should lead to a first tick of progress. That will be locked in. Real's got to read onto Whalers and is able to at least find the tray, but it comes at the cost of a little bit of life and also a number of teammates, and then Abusa over the top. Good help from BB Connor. They clear off the pressure at B, and on top of that, Whalers is actually over by A again too. So Minnesota's in a really tricky situation as far as how they want to commit to getting back to an offensive successful point.
Yeah, they don't have no real info throughout mid as well, and that's going to be picked up as the stun should connect. Abusa caught in the corner here, waiting for the gunfight, tries to slide through. Metals will keep the tracking on, finds the kill. And now it's all about securing that extra minute by A, which should be good. They also earned themselves a tick of progress by B. So this does become just a little bit easier here for you on this offensive push, but it's still about getting to that zone. And you got Henry going rogue here through mid, but Journey will be able to shut him down just barely.
Still a lot of time on the clock here, too. So as much as these interactions have been kind of fruitful over the middle of the map for Doge Nation, there's still plenty of time for Rocker Academy to get some space to work with as they set up their next approach towards B, which largely will exist through Church. They actually have complete, full control of it. Journey dangerously cooks a nade close to termination. Gets it out the side door. Stun in the back. Does not hit Whalers. But they have some sort of an idea that he's in this position as he kicks a couple of pot shots here and there. Problem is, Henry was there to assist off a bit of a mini pinch, and those doubles will lead to a more significant life lead, and not a lot of time here for Rocker to work with anymore.
Yeah, and BB Connor's got the total front of P5 basically covered here on the rooftops. And so he can backtrack, and I don't think they're going to expect maybe a second to be back here. We'll see what he can find. One player is going to come up behind him. I think he gets some bad timing here, so BB Connor's play is not going to work out. Rocker back onto the point. Abusa, can he find more than one? He's able to keep his life, and he's got assistance from the back watching over him. But Lucky is still alive. That second tick of progress, I think maybe, no, it was not secured. Henry gets there in time with his teammate, and they will deny the second tick.
You get to make a choice here if you're Rocker. I was about to say the life lead is starting to be neutralized just a touch, and it looks like they have attempted to do the math. Now, not to throw slander or shade, we've seen teams try to do math before in these situations and didn't quite work out at Major 1. Although this one, I believe, is more convincing than that one was. I think there was like a 1 life lead that was miscalculated. This one was more significant, and it looks like we will sit here and just watch the only thing that's moving. That's the red numbers at the top of your screen. And you assume Rocker have successfully calculated that they should be starting on a round 5 defense.
Have to imagine. Which means, what is Doge Nation if they do, in fact, have this offense coming through? They're going to try to go back for that round 1 strategy where they try to push through B off the rip. See if they can maybe get some early progress over. Or if it's going to be Real kind of shutting it all down with a stun nade again. We'll have to see coming in here for us. But you almost have to expect something should be a tad bit different if you're going to try to steal away an offense, because it is, in fact, Doge Nation coming through on another offensive attack. And this is, not only to win the map, this is a stay alive period in the series. So much riding on this, and Whalers does still have a streak available. So we'll see if that comes into play here at some point in time around B.
Look at Minnesota, though, setting up for counter nades. Yep, that's how they're going to contest this A zone initially. The thing about this is, again, Doge Nation, they're favoring getting the quick progress. And Rocker want to contest. Journey able to find the second elimination on the break. BB Connor with the trade. Whalers keep a mid-map safe. And at this point, it largely comes down to can Real find the flank in time, and boy has he. Second tick of progress did get locked in, and while the defense comes off respawn, they still have pressure significantly over the top of the B zone. So you kind of have to reform and try again if you're Doge Nation.
Yeah, you sure do. And player 6 here, Real off screen, has pushed all the way up. Abusa is going to be able to find one here. At the front of B, it looks like they are coordinating a push here to see if they could maybe earn a tick of progress, but it's got to be more convincing. It's got to be more aggressive. Real does not check the right corner fully, so he will be cut down as he flies out. And now that's a lot of yellow into that feed here. You got one more player at the back. The rest are off spawn, and you have a player on A stopping the clock.
This is good as far as just stopping the clock is concerned. You've got good high ground position. Oh, well, thought Henry was going to find that player coming up the ladder. Not the case, so BB Connor's left by him lonesome, and he eventually does get isolated and dealt with. So 20 plays 19, 136 on the clock, all of it favoring the defense for now, as Doge Nation off the spawn are essentially forced to play through the previously captured A zone, and they're doing it kind of in a conga line form. And, well, the kill feed tells you everything you need to. Kill after kill, Rocker Academy continue to build their life lead, and with that also get very far forward in advanced positions defensively.
Look at the setup right now. Real's watching down low. His teammate Metal's watching up top here. They can reinforce each other as needed. And you have to deal with Real if you're going to be able to push through. And they're going to come down low. I like the route. We'll see if they can clear up from the bottom. But Real off screen found one. Now it's finally BB Connor. Whalers answering back. Journey almost snapping for 3. But you've lost almost every single member. BB Connor, the only one pushed forward on the map, has to make his way to the very back of the spawns. Fight Rocker in the back here. See if you can flip them out over to grass, because you're getting very low on time. 40 seconds now left on the clock.
Yeah, Doge Nation just have not had a solution for how to break this B zone. These players in the back will at least put some consideration to Metals, but he's happy to deal with it from on top of the truck. And, oh, man. Yeah, it's just... This one's going to sting for Doge, as the kills are coming through very convincingly. 16 playing up against 6, 20 seconds on the clock. And it's just so many just small missed opportunities throughout this entire series. You know, you lose 3 rounds in a row in the search. You let Rocker Academy just put together essentially 45 straight seconds on the Bocage hardpoint. And then here, just no answer to get into the B zone. Man, it's going to be a tough one for Doge Nation. They're going to fall 0-4 in the group, which obviously does not bode well for them getting into playoffs. They're essentially going to have to win out from here when they're going into next week. And, yeah, I think if we're really being, you know, Bob Ross's favorite spirit animals here, we got to talk about the silver linings, that all the maps have been close. But, again, that's like a shade of silver that doesn't exist in the known universe, because it's still really dark. So, man, it's tough, man. It really is. I really do feel for Doge Nation, because that is an 0-4 that's really not going to feel like you're 0-4 because of how close you played every single map this week.
Yeah, it is, right? Just closing it out. Like, I think they had such a great start in the Bocage. They came out just swinging. BB Connor had an excellent opening, right? 7-1. We get through a couple hills, 16-8. Everything was looking, you know, really solid from like individual performances. But as soon as Rocker catches just a bit of fire, or just starts to figure out exactly how you're playing and what positions you're really looking to favor, they immediately start to figure it out halfway through. It's the mid-map adjustments. It's something that we always talk about throughout any Call of Duty. It's always extremely important to catch on to what your opponents are doing, how you can counter it, how you can shut it down, and start to get back into the map. And, you know, that's what you expect, I think, from a team like Rocker Academy that has been so strong here at the start of the season so far, through the Elites, through the Cups, you name it. This has been the team right now in Europe, and they're showcasing it here again, where, you know, Doge Nation now are dropping down to 0-4. So not what you like to see throughout week 1. You're at least hoping for a couple of those wins to stay in playoff contention, but this is basically already solidifying a lot of what is going to happen, you know, going forward here, as you're only going to have another, 3 matches left before playoffs, which doesn't make it very likely that you're going to be able to make it in.
And for the opposite side, for the Rocker Academy roster, you've done a lot of what you needed to do. Okay, not a lot. You've done exactly what you needed to do. You start off 4-0 overall in the group, but you do so while beating Ultra Academy, beating Sucre's Bakery, and, well, beating Revenge Tour. By name, they're, you know, the team that finished second last stage, but they're not looking like the same team based on the results that we're getting today off of this Revenge Tour roster. So really, you just have Vengeance to get through. That's the only other thing on your schedule that would look to be a tall task. So if you clean up GWR signs, you clean up the originals, which we assume that they should, you're already kind of guaranteeing yourself a playoff spot after week 1, which is incredible news overall. But we look back over our schedule to give the recap as far as what has happened here in day 2 for the European region. We started watching Vengeance in the originals, a pretty tight map series. 4 maps is what we saw there. 3-1 the official, as Vengeance were able to take all of the respawns, just dropping the Desert Siege Search and Destroy 6-3. And with that, they put themselves in a prime position for that eventual matchup next week. But we're going to go on a bit of a break here. And when we come back, you got it. Bear Claw Esports, UYU, 2 teams that are looking nasty in North America. And then Zuma and the Stallions, which is a roster of very young and new players to Challengers Elite, will have a very tall task where they'll test their mettle against the defending North American champions in Texas Nation. Austin, thoughts either about what we've seen so far or what you're expected to see when we come back from our break?
Yeah, I think so far, what we got out of Europe, a lot of what I was expecting for Vengeance coming through here, as well as Rocker. We'll see if they can kind of keep that going. But as we head over to North America, that's where I think things are going to get a lot more spicier. Overall, these are a lot of teams that we have right now. There's been no real 3-0s, a lot of game 5s, a lot of game 4s here for us. And I have to imagine that's going to continue going in towards our second day here for NA as well.
Pumped for it, but we'll go on a little bit of a break. Europe has been an unbelievable affair, but it doesn't change the narrative. It's all Rocker Academy all the time, apparently. Vengeance, though, looking like a potential contestant. We'll have to wait until next week to see that one, and we'll see how things go for North America when we come back after the break. You're watching COD Challengers.